Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much. This is Manhattan Community Board 1. This is our executive committee. Having reached quorum, we're going to start with our first topic, which is 100 Gold Street. So let's welcome the team from EDC and HPD who's presenting today.
I'll be presenting.
Please join us at the table. The whole team can come and join us at the table, no problem. If you're going to be speaking, come join us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep in mind that we use owls, so the owl will pick up side conversations from us. And we'll pick up anything that is heard, but we do ask people to go one by one and cut down the cross chatter, because when you're online, the online experience is extremely difficult if there's crosstalk in the room, unless people are shouting, which we highly don't encourage.
Understood.
So welcome, please introduce yourselves and let's get rolling.
Thank you so much. My name is Mikkel Hadgate. I am the Senior Vice President of Government and Community Relations at the New York City Economic Development Corporation, or EDC. I know that you most often work with my colleague Diana Sweetai, who is out of the office. So myself and Gigi Lee, Vice President, and the GovCo team will endeavor to do our best to represent Diana. And then I'd like our colleagues from the Real Estate Transactions team to introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Ashley Katz, Assistant Vice President in the Real Estate Transactions team.
And Stephen Ali, Senior Associate in the Real Estate team.
So we do have a few slides to walk through. And then we also have a final slide at the end with responses to questions that we received earlier in the week to walk through that as well. And then happy to answer questions as we go
Get
through.
that flash drive again.
Oh, yeah.
The only one image popped up.
Oh, dear.
It's huge.
Exactly. Sure. Very interesting.
So as Zach is pulling that up, just to set the context of why we're here tonight, is that earlier this month at the State of the City, the mayor announced an effort, New York City EDC, along with our colleagues at HPD, who are also here this evening, are working to redevelop the site at 100 Gold Street here in CB1. There's a map that will come up first to show exactly where that is located, though I'm sure the community board members are very familiar with that site and all of the city agencies that are represented there. Part of why we are doing this work now is that the mayor signed an executive order EO 43 requiring that all city agencies look at city-owned properties to consider for housing development. As has been talked about a lot, there is a great housing crisis across the city. There's an affordability housing crisis that I know is of critical importance here in Community Board 1. And so all agencies, EDC, HPD, and others have been looking at sites to identify potential projects for redevelopment, and 100 Gold is one of those. Thanks, Zach. So the map that comes up next, again, shows the location just on the other side of the bridge from where we are now. And we can go ahead to the next one to talk a little bit about why this is happening at this time. And in addition to Executive Order 43, we really see this project as an opportunity to support the community with things like ground floor activation, re-envision some of the surrounding streetscape, and really think about the dynamic and involving environment along the Brooklyn Bridge. Taking a step back, about 100 Gold, the site itself, our colleagues at the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, or DCAS, estimate that over $200 million in capital is needed to repair the building. And so we find ourselves at an inflection point of city capital could be used to repair the building to bring it up to code, or we can invest time and energy into redeveloping the building that serves both the city asset needs, but also the community. Just going a little
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Maybe it's, maybe you have to scroll. Oh, here we go. So the site itself, 8 different agencies currently work out of that, the largest of which is Housing Preservation and Development. And I mentioned that colleagues from HPD are here, so if the team could wave a bit. We also have a colleague from the Department of Aging here, but you can see that DOE, Parks and Recreation, Mayor's Office are also represented at the building. So one of the reasons why we see this as an opportunity for housing in particular is because we see this space as being underutilized and overbuilt, obviously because of its location here in CB1 and in the financial district. There is proximity to transit and to amenities. And as we've talked about with CB1 leadership, there's a real need for affordable housing stock here in the district. And so we want to look at ways to not only introduce affordable housing, but introduce permanent affordable housing. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So just taking a step back, I mentioned this earlier about the 200 million, over 200 million that's needed in capital. We were asked, you know, how did DCAS come up with those funds? What that number, what would that actually be needed for? And at the very base level, the building is not currently up to code. So it needs things like sprinklers, elevator improvements, ADA accessible bathrooms, an additional 180 million needed for windows and electrical systems, energy retrofits. And so while it could cost over 300 million to bring it to a state of good repair, again, we see this as an opportunity to be good stewards of city resources and ensure that funds are going to not just serving city agencies, but also the community. So just and I don't mean to belabor this point, but think it's helpful to understand the working conditions that are currently in place. The asset is overcrowded. There's a lot of expectations and increasing demands on our city colleagues, particularly HPD. And because this location is one that serves the public and public are coming in and out of the building, having a situation where there's bathrooms that aren't ADA accessible, where tiles are falling out of the ceiling is not safe for employees or for the public coming in. And so really thinking about how can we invest in modern and tailored office space is one of the core challenges that we are also trying to solve for in addition to housing. So obviously we know that the Hamilton Madison House Senior Center that's located at this site is a vital community resource. We've been talking to different stakeholders about how often this site is used for the community seniors who are going here for programming, for lunch. But we also know that it is suboptimal space right now because it's underground with no direct light or direct street access. There's a constrained fragmented layout. There's a lot of unmet needs. And so as part of this process, talking with the Department of Aging about relocation opportunities, it gives us the opportunity to continue to serve the community, but with an updated purpose-built center that addresses both the existing needs and future needs. It might be those arrows under the number 16. Those might be the.
Likes to work sometimes in others.
No worries. So I've mentioned these agencies already, but just to orient us with the project partners, we're here from the EDC team. We're collaborating with Housing Preservation and Development, HPD, to release a request for proposals and RFP for the redevelopment of the site. We'll be supporting on facilitating the transition of the property into residential development and aligning with the broader city goals on how to better serve the community, from the streetscape experience, the ground floor activation, or what you see as you're walking along the sidewalk as well. HPD is working very closely with us on collaborating on the release of the RFP, also managing a housing lottery for the affordable units. And they are also the ones that monitor and enforce the affordable housing commitments. DCAS is a partner here, and we'll come back to some questions that have been asked about DCAS's role, but they are managing the city office space and relocation, and they'll be the ones that are searching for availability within the existing portfolio. And then I mentioned the Department of Aging and how they're working with us on the senior center. So I'm gonna stop here and then kick it over to my colleagues at RETS.
So before discussing the relocation plans, it's important.
We went backwards. There,
There we go.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
It's important to give an overview of the transaction. So the goal is to sell the land under 100 Gold Street and use the proceeds of that sale for to relocate the city agencies that currently occupy the space. With any additional value being put towards affordable housing and community needs. So the relocation could be fit into two buckets: the agency office space and the senior center. For the agency office space, DCAS will look into their existing portfolio to see if there's any additional space that these agencies can move into. For agencies that cannot relocate in the existing portfolio, the goal is to buy an existing office building and fit it out to fit the tenant's needs.
Purchase.
Purchase.
Why is that?
Similarly, the goal for the senior center is to purchase a commercial space and fit that out to fit the needs of NYC aging. It's important to note that there will be no disruption in service throughout the entire period. The agencies and the senior center will not move out of their existing space until the new space is ready. So it's important to note that this project will not occur if there are not enough proceeds to move out the agencies and the senior center from their spaces. Again, any additional proceeds from the sale will go towards providing affordable housing and community benefits through cross-collateralizing the market rate units within the building. Again, the RFP is only a baseline to understand the value, but we'll get a better understanding of that throughout the RFP and the ULURP process. The development will be governed by legally binding documents, including deed provision and regulatory agreements. All affordable units will be rent stabilized, so their rent increases will be determined by the Rent Guidelines Board annually. Our partners, HPD, will have a regulatory agreement with the developer, and they will monitor compliance with all regulations, housing regulations, including MWBE requirements, wages, and other 485X regulations.
Here, we're just showing some examples of ground floor activations and streetscape improvements that we can activate in this development. Really, we're looking to the community for input on what you'd like to see here. For instance, so requiring ground floor space to be leased at lower than market rents could have an impact on affordable housing and so forth. So we really want to understand how to balance the kind of community's preferences for opportunities here. Here's an overview of our process. It's illustrative. We envision that this project will take 5 years before construction would begin. And there will be frequent opportunities during that time for community involvement.
Can you explain why this timeline is different from what was initially told to us on the community board, which was an RFP would be the end of Q1, and this is now an RFP release in February? There's no conversation before we even get going. There's supposed to be a survey that was promised to the community. That's not included in here. I mean, we'll get to the other things, but I'm already dismayed about not only the timeline, but promises made at the introduction and promises made by City Hall to solve the thing that this completely does not have any relation to. So I'm gonna get that out there early. I have a whole fantastic list, but I just want to know that for the record, this is not at all what was told to the community. End of the first quarter is March. And there's no survey, there's nothing in here. So this is already promises broken since December, less than 30 days.
Yeah, so maybe if we go on to the next slide where we talk about the survey, the additional engagement.
If it's not here, before the RFP goes out,
Yes,
it's window dressing and icing, like sprinkles on the top. They don't have much flavor, they're all there for visuals.
so there's, the survey will absolutely be going out. Our target date for that is this Monday. We currently have it drafted, but we are getting it translated into, Chinese. And so that is part of why it hasn't been out yet. But
Without input from the public forum. This is the first public discussion of this, so the survey was drafted before any engagement with the public.
for the purpose of the public responding to the survey.
Yeah, but you didn't meet with the public before, so how are we supposed to respond?
No, how are we supposed to provide input on
But
what
we
we think
don't know.
questions should be asked?
Yeah.
Versus having a survey that is pre-crafted to delineate and define the answers that EDC wants.
Well, we're certainly happy to share the draft of the survey with the community board. I think you'll see that the feedback we've already received from you about zip code, people living in the community has already been added to it. And the goal is through this process, how we're spreading the news and the word about the survey so that it can be completed by the community. So there's no attempt to hide the survey. The goal is to share it with the community so that the community can respond to it, those who live here and work here.
How was it distributed? Was it,
It hasn't been distributed yet.
will it be going to all the residents in the community or a select few?
The goal would be to spread it broadly. So we would ask for the community board support in spreading it. We've talked about it with our friends at Southbridge Towers so that they can spread it to their constituents. We would do, a targeted ad placement for those who are on social media or email to have it spread that way. So the goal is, the survey is a tool to gather community input. It's not something that we would create just to hide and not use. It's a tool to gather information.
And we were told initially that the way this engagement would work is that you would come to a community board meeting, ask the public what they'd like to see asked in a survey, have the survey results help inform the RFP. That's not at all what this says. And if you're not putting the survey out until next week, and then the RFP goes out, 10 days later? How is the public assured that the information gathered for public input is actually reflected in the RFP?
So the way that this would work is that from the meetings that we've been doing, so we've met with stakeholders like Gotham Park, we'll be doing a public meeting, other stakeholder conversations, is that we would write an engagement summary that includes the survey results, and that would be appended to the RFP. So I hear the criticism on the timeline. And so what we're working to do is get the survey out so that we can begin collecting that information, but also having this meeting, the public meeting, so that we're actually presenting to the public as well.
But the RFP will not be based around community input. It will just be included as an appendix.
That's very, very standard. That community engagement summary is included in the RFP so that the respondents, the most competitive respondents, are actually distilling and looking at the engagement summary and ensuring that their responses are reflective of that feedback.
How is EDC being responsive in the RFP to what the community
Can I
is
jump in here real
asking?
quick, Tammy? Hi, sorry. Melissa Otten, I'm HPD. So, in the presentation, as we mentioned, EDC has asked us to come in and kind of give our feedback on we're a little bit of a partner in this. So if you want to go look at HPD's RFPs that we recently released, you can kind of see the model.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. And I will tell you,
Well, you can see it
how
also
but I mean, we're just talking engagement at this point.
Yeah, and so let me back up too. The survey has also been reviewed by HPD. We've been giving input. So sorry, that might be a little bit on the delay on our end because we are a very, active, but, civil servant agents that often needs more resources. So, we might have been a little slower than EDC would have been on the feedback. So I'm stepping in to say that we gave feedback on the survey, so we wish we could have gotten it to you sooner. But we're trying our best here.
I'm gonna recognize Susan.
And so also this is modeled after our standard form of our workshops that we do when we do engagement. So if you,
I think the
Yeah.
real question that nobody's hearing is that we expected you to come to us and talk to us before this was a complete survey, and that's what we were promised. We were promised some kind of discussion before all of this. So now I'm sorry, we don't want to shoot the messenger. Don't think, I mean, you're set up. I'm sorry about that, but that's not what we're about. What we're about was we wanted some engagement and some discussion before this was all planned and thrown at us. This is what it's going to be. We've been through a lot. We're a very active community, and we expected you to be respectful of us and to come here and talk to us before all of this. And so you're hearing us be very angry.
Well, can I clarify just one thing, because I
Sure.
absolutely hear the frustration. The survey is not out yet, so I am happy to share the draft survey with the community board tomorrow morning. You are welcome to send us comments. We will hold putting it out until we receive your comments and we've made your edits, or we've discussed our comments on your edits. Because what I want to ensure is that, one, it doesn't feel as if we're already breaking promises. And again, I apologize, I wasn't in those earlier meetings, and so I want to make sure that we're being responsive. But the survey is not out. There is still time to provide edits and comments on the survey itself, and we will hold it and we will think through this timeline with you, because obviously, and if you, Zach, if you don't mind going back to the slide with the timeline. Yes, to that one. This obviously is going to be a very long process of us working together. Not only does the RFP go out, we go through environmental review, which has public scoping, public hearings. We go through Euler, where we come back to the community board. So there's a lot of time for us to be working together, and I would really want to get us off on the right foot together.
I want to go past the survey. Let's come back, circle back to the survey.
I'm gonna go around the room in just a second. She has one more slide after the last one, and then I've got 3 things to say, and then I'm gonna go around the room.
Sure, and then I think our last one is the responses to the questions that we received earlier this week. So we'll just take them one by one, if that's okay with you, or
And
would you
you
rather
don't-
jump around?
You don't have any of the questions that we asked in December on that call, because I know there were representatives from HPD on that call and other EDC people. It wasn't dependent on the one person who's not here, and there were many, many questions raised at that.
So I think we do have the notes and the comments from your December.
Hi, how are you? Hi.
Can I say something?
Sorry, let me mute them. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there were updates to the deck from what had been shown in December, reflecting some of those questions. But if there are ones that you don't see answered to, then that's on us to talk with the EDC team members that we might have missed.
Okay,
Tammy,
so-
may I make a comment before we move on to the next thing? It's Justine online.
No, Justine, please wait until she's done with the presentation, then we'll go around the room. Good.
So you asked about available space in the DCAS portfolio. DCAS couldn't be here with us this evening, but one of the things that is clear is that there is benefit to relocating agencies within the community, and DCAS goes through their standard process, which I understand the CB is very familiar with. There is no real expectation that this process would be different from other agency moves that DCAS has facilitated. On the, I'm sorry?
Keep going.
Okay. So on the usage ratio of DCAS space, while we don't have access to usage ratios in the DCAS portfolio, I will just note that the city has required agency workers to be fully in person. So we're a little bit different than the private sector where folks are in and out at, 3 days in, 2 days out. And HPD in particular houses in-person services that do require staff to be on site. For the question about retaining and redeveloping the building, as we mentioned, given that DCAS has estimated about $200 million worth of repairs, we see it being significantly costlier, given the state of the building, to redevelop it as is. It's not a good candidate for the office to residential conversion that you've likely heard about. And so the best path forward is to tear down and rebuild. On the question about the targeted listing price, we don't set listing prices. So this disposition will go through a competitive RFP process, in which respondents will propose prices and will evaluate those responses so that EDC can negotiate with a selected respondent on the best deal. And we would work with HPD through that process as our partners on that. And then on the public engagement piece, as I mentioned earlier, the survey results and engagement summary will be attached to the RFP as an exhibit for the respondents.
Last time?
I believe that's it.
So I'm gonna go first only because they did talk to me about this in December. Community Board One's #1 need is affordable housing. I still like to see the Gothamist article today. I believe it was in Gothamist that talked about turning Midtown into a shining example of what happened in Friday, except
It didn't happen.
the recognition that we've lost all the affordable housing was quite clear, and how they may do that. The thing that I cannot, it's the same narrative that we hear from City Hall. You can't have 100% affordable housing because the subsidies required are too high, because the purchase price is so high, because the land is so valuable. And yet, when we're talking about fair housing, Community Board One is consistently excluded. Building affordable housing needs to be the #1 priority, not buying a new office building for an agency, not buying space for the senior center. #1 priority has to be affordable housing. We have in the pipeline 3,300 new luxury and market rentals in our district. You know how many affordable housing we have in the pipeline that's guaranteed? 0. There is no reason right now that City Hall cannot do an RFP to retain the land, so you lower the amount of subsidies that are needed. Keep ownership. Because yeah, it's hard when somebody pays $250 million for a building to get them to then want to do affordable housing. So there's no reason that we as a community don't get why you would have to put your first priority of buying an office building for agencies versus figuring out how to build 100% affordable housing in that building. City of Yes touted all these beautiful benefits of having commercial and residential combined in one building. So there's no reason, because we've all seen how it works in private development, that you couldn't figure out a way to do commercial condos to help do long-term support for the building. EDC has some of the brightest minds in it. And real estate and economic development is what you do. Affordable housing is the #1 need. We have lost more than any other Senate district in the state. So to come to us and say, yes, we have to buy a building for our offices, we have to buy a place for a senior center. And so we're going to need to sell the building for a lot. And if there's money left over, we will work on how much affordable housing we could do. Shows me that the mayor's promises is not based on building affordable housing and making a livable city where everybody can walk to work if they want. It's building an 80-20 district or a 90-10, because the only thing that's been approved for building, other than moving office to office to office, are safe haven shelters in our neighborhood. Luxury market housing, safe haven. That is not listening to the community. That is not responding to a survey. That is not doing the economic development work that sustains long-term. Lower Manhattan has the highest vacancy rate in storefronts because we don't have enough people. We don't need more luxury market housing. We have 3,300 units in the pipeline that I could think of within the last 2-3 weeks. We have more on the way. We need socioeconomically diverse, affordable housing. Any other conversation that comes out of an RFP completely does not listen to what the community is asking for, what the mayor stood and touted and promised. It's in direct contradiction. If you do not uphold fair housing law and invest in affordable housing, and I'm talking about a full building of affordable housing, not 75-25, not 70-30, because none of that gets us where we need to go. By the time this building is built, I will have lost more affordable housing that is scheduled to expire than you are adding. We will be at a net loss again. So I'm going to pass it around the table. I have said this 1,010 times. Look at our history in Lower Manhattan. After 9/11, tons of affordable housing was built, for which we got some new markets. We got 3 brand new schools. We got infrastructure. We didn't get a better hospital, although it's much better than it used to be, right? We have a hospital that was built 45 years ago for a population that was 1/3 of the size of what we have now. If you sell this building to the highest bidder, you are absolutely dooming us into a gated community and no affordable housing. Because again, the subsidies will be too much to be needed to build here. Don't sell the land, figure out a way to develop it. And that way you don't need quite so many subsidies because you're not having to pay back somebody after you've bought a new office building, after you've bought a new real estate location for a senior center to try and give us crumbs for affordable housing. With that, I pass it
Actually, you said it. That's what I was basically gonna say.
Mimi, and then I've got Jason, Alice, Mariama, Eric, Justine, Jeff. Go for it.
So we bought the building in 1993 and then it fell apart. Like, what happened to it? Why is it so bad? I understand that we need to like retrofit it for, new standards. But why are the tiles falling out of the ceiling? Such.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would be able to answer that. That would be a question for DCAS, who manages the building. And while I know anecdotally that there's been over the years, like targeted investments and fixes, I don't know the story of the whole scale.
I mean, anecdotally, I can tell you there's been a lot of issues where it's major costs, and this is anecdotally from somebody who works in the building.
Yeah.
There's major costs. When I first started working there, the HVAC the compressor was broken, and people at my agency are gonna like them telling this story, but there was a circle of desks, including mine, that used to shake when the HVAC was on. They had to redo the facade. I mean, the window behind me, if there's high winds, it looks like Jello. Ceiling tiles are just not worth replacing. There's a lot of leaks. In fact, the leak that you see, where the ceiling tiles are coming down in that presentation, that's actually in the mother's room. So that's, it's our help. And that was related to us too. So it's in bad shape, I will say that. And my understanding is that things that cost a certain amount of money take a lot of action.
I can appreciate that. I just am concerned that like there's a lot of buildings that are falling apart that are under that.
Yeah, I understand that too.
And if we buy new ones, will they be better managed?
Hopefully they'll be healthy.
I changed my mind. I'm gonna go in-room online because we've got a lot of people. Alice Blank is our vice chair. Alice, go.
Oh, thanks very much, Tammy. That was, I thought, eloquently posed what we really need in the community, and I thank you for that. And I thank you for the presentation. Yes, Tammy and I did see this back last month, and I mentioned this to Tammy. I wasn't sure I'd make this meeting, but I cannot say this. I am somewhat appalled, if you will, by and I want to make this for the record publicly, that at the meeting that we saw this project delivered in December, and we spoke to Diana, and I'm not trying to point a finger at anyone, but I do want to make clear that the fact that potentially 2,000 units of housing that were aligned to the mayor's campaign for 2026 to support housing was not uttered. It's an understandable thing that he wants to do this, and that we need housing. But that really wasn't the issue. What was mainly brought forth was this idea that somehow the 500,000 square feet of public agency housing, public agency office space was inadequate. You can't have it both ways. Either this is about this alleged need of housing in New York City and particularly affordable housing, which we all speak of, or it's about the movement of these offices. And we were told this was really about insufficient space and inadequate space and old space. And it sort of really irks me that this point about 2,000 unit of housing wasn't uttered at that meeting, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, it was something that I read, like all of us, in various journals just this week. So I think I would ask that as we move forward, there is a sort of underlying clarity as to what this really is about, and you allow that the public recognizes it and is aware of it and has an exchange about it. This is really important, I think, and I think we got off on the wrong foot, to be quite honest. I'm glad that you're here tonight. I'm glad that you were able to come, but I do really think we need to underline its purpose. And I think within these exchanges, when we talk about buildings coming down, it's understandable, this one. I get that idea, and I see its replacement as being something that, is reasonable. But I often think we don't ever talk about, adaptive reuse as a concept, something this mayor also supposedly supported. And I think that's something that should be considered in these and evaluated as to how much we're losing with bringing a building down or restoring. And I don't know if that has been done fully on this building, but I assume it has. But to again have that exchange with the public a little bit more comprehensively as to the idea of adaptive reuse or the idea of using it in any way would be helpful. Anyway, that's it, Tammy. I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
All right, next person in the room from the board. Who had hands up? Jack?
I had a hand up. This is my first time seeing it, so I don't have benefit of whatever was presented to Tammy and Alice and others. I think the discussion about the condition, I'm not quite sure what you were suggesting, Tammy, mechanically in the city developing as opposed to a developer developing. But if you're suggesting that the city should be the landlord for affordable housing, I don't agree with that. The city does not have a good record as a landlord. Witness the condition of that building right now. And so I think if you're talking about
Land lease, like we have in Battery Park City, where they're not the developer, they put an RFP out and everything else, but they charge rent. They own the building.
To me, that's purely an economical thing that has no philosophical weight with me. Obviously, we want more affordable housing. And what I would like to see is the most economical way to get the most bang for our buck for affordable housing. And if it means tearing down this building, selling it to a developer, and the developer developing affordable housing, I'm fine with that, as long as it accomplishes that. One thing that I don't like about the model of developer affordable housing, particularly when it's tied with market units in the same building, is that there is a tendency to really give short shrift to the affordable units in those buildings. We've seen it in other buildings downtown. My son actually won the lottery for an affordable unit in one of these downtown buildings, and he was thrilled until he saw the unit. The unit was a closet. The building was otherwise a very nice building with very nice livable apartments. But this was clearly the minimum that the developer had to provide, and it was not enough to live in. God forbid he gets married, because certainly two people couldn't live in it. So these are just sort of temporary units for somebody who may be having a financial need today, but you would not reasonably expect anybody to live in a unit like that for any extended period of time. And there may be needs for those housing units for people who are hard up and want a place to live for 6 months, otherwise living on the street. But it's not a unit that someone can make their home. And I would want to see that if this is going to be a private development of an otherwise market building, that the affordable units be meaningful units and that they be on a comparable size scale as the market units in the same complex. But I just want to say, I want more units. I actually also want more market units. The only way the market rent is ever going to go down is if there's a bigger supply of market units. But we definitely need
300 on the way.
we need more than that. We need more than that, because if that doesn't bring the rent down, then we need more. Not necessarily in Lower Manhattan, but in New York City. And so I don't oppose the development of market apartments. In fact, I advocate for development of more market housing so that the market price will go down. But I do believe that we have a real shortage of affordable units in Lower Manhattan, in Manhattan generally, and Lower Manhattan in particular. And so I favor a solution that maximizes that. And I don't have philosophical points of whether it's a private developer or not. And I don't mind if it's motivated because we got an office building that we want to vacate, and now we have a plot that can be developed. I don't care what the motivation for using this spot is, as long as it maximizes the return on affordable units. So that's my piece.
Thanks, Jeff. Justine?
Thank you so much. Okay, while I agree that we need more affordable units, I disagree with Jeff and what he said, because this is public land. This is sort of the same argument that was going on with 5 World Trade Center. And those of us who fought for more affordable housing, we wanted 100%, because it was public land. And Tammy's points, at least the way I interpreted what she was saying, was to say to EDC, the city, whoever it is who's owning this land, not to be the landlord, not even for a ground lease, sell it to a private developer. But if the cost of the land, the sale of 100 Gold Street, is prohibitive to building 100% affordability on public land. And I say that not everybody at 10% of AMI. As she said, socioeconomically diverse. And in my world, that includes some market apartments, because you're going to need to pay for it. It is Lower Manhattan. Some market, but 20% in each AMI bracket, going up to the down one and going down low. Okay, as you could do it. Somebody, not me, needs to do the math of that, and what is economically feasible for a developer to build that kind of property. And then EDC, the government, whoever it is who's selling 100 Gold Street, that is the purchase price. Not top dollar so you can take the money from it and buy something else, but the government is partnering with the developer, not to give them tax breaks ad nauseum. No, they get taxed, they pay taxes, but when it comes down to building the property, the only way we are going to build in Lower Manhattan socioeconomically diverse, affordable housing, where we have workforce housing, where we've got poor people housing, where we house policemen, firemen, um, nurses, whatever, okay, secretaries, I don't care, doormen. The only way we're going to do that is if government takes a different picture. Okay, I sat in on too many meetings about how expensive it is to pay for affordable housing. Why? Because the land is so expensive in Lower Manhattan. The land doesn't have to be so expensive. It has to be free, doesn't have to be cheap, but it has to be cost effective to build the kind of homes that we are demanding in CB1. So what I was going to say when I asked to speak before about the survey, rest assured that nothing in your survey is going to ask the kind of questions that would elicit a response like what I'm saying, okay? Or even what Jeff said. You're not going to get those responses because you want to build what you want to build in the same practice and the same policy structure of the 80-20, 70-30, whatever it is, 90-10. That in Lower Manhattan has been proven to be a failed policy. Why are we still doing it? What is it going to take for the city to change their picture, take a new one, and move forward on making socioeconomically diverse properties that address what Jeff said, that you don't have the poor door. Okay, great, you don't. But you don't have the poor apartments either. Everybody's equal. That's the whole point. So thank you for letting me speak.
Next in the room. Okay, let's see, board members online, Mariama, we're gonna go in this order. Mariama, you go first, Rosa is next, and then somebody's hand just fell off, sorry. Go ahead, Mariama.
Hi, so yes, I'm a board member. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Quality of Life Committee, but I'm also a resident of Southbridge Towers, and I live in the building immediately next door to 100 Gold Street. I live at 90 Gold Street. And we received word from one of our board members that they were very briefly briefed on this project. Not that anybody went to them for any sort of input or anything. And as far as the residents, not speaking on behalf of them in any official capacity. However, we have been having discussions on an unofficial thread, email thread that residents use, and there are a lot of concerns. First, we do agree in terms of affordable housing that is needed in Lower Manhattan, particularly on the east side of the district, because the couple, 100 apartments that have gone up that were affordable recently were on the west side, and we have absolutely zero. Southbridge Towers was the last state-owned Mitchell-Lama co-op or affordable housing in this area, and so once we went private in 2016, that was the end of any and all affordable housing on this side of the district. So it is a problem, and we would like to see affordable housing. However, we would like to see it if it's not a definite guaranteed thing in some of the other locations that CB1 has already put forth, where affordable housing would be good, where we have a bunch of empty office towers that could be converted. You need offices. You could use one of those buildings. They're existing offices. We'd like to see more money put into 5 World Trade Center if the city wants to do it. And I do disagree with Tammy on one point. I don't think, I do think this is in line with what the city administration was aiming for, because if they wanted affordable housing, really, they would have mandated some in the city of Yes. It mandates 0% affordable housing. Nobody's required to build any. So I disagree on that point, but I otherwise agree with everything that Tammy said. But the residents have concerns about a number of things, and we weren't spoken to. Like, for example, you have to take down that building. How was your building cleaned after 9/11? When was the last time? What can we expect to be? What toxins can we expect to be released when you take that building down? How long will Frankfurt Street have to be closed? The only route basically to the Brooklyn Bridge and the FDR Drive and local travel. There were so many other things that we wanted to know, but things along those lines that have not been addressed. And you said that you talked to Gotham Park. Well, that's all well and good. That's wonderful. However, that's a board of like 10 people, if that many. We have 1,650 apartments. 1,650 apartments. We were not spoken to. Those apartments provide housing for over 4,000 people. We were not spoken to, and so not happy with the way things are moving forward thus far. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you, Mariama.
Tammy, can I respond?
You
to
can
that?
respond, but the one thing I'm also gonna say is, we love Gotham Park, we're thrilled with Gotham Park, but guess what? They're now a Plaza partner tied to the DOT. They are they are beholden to a city agency.
Right.
And city government. So having them as a prime partner for feedback is going to be an automatic yes, because their contract could be revoked. They are beholden to the city. That is a opinion, but as Mariama says, it's not the thousands who live next door. It's not the community board. So it's not the hospital. It's not PACE. It's not the student bodies. It's a city vendor. So I just want to make that really clear. And don't get me wrong, we love our Plaza partner. We love our new arches. We love everything about that. But it's about when you're saying you're reaching out to them for input, you're reaching out internally.
Understood. So just
One other quick concern that we had was about the weight of the building. Because we were also told that it was going to have about 2,000 units, and we've previously been told that we're sinking or the water's rising on us or both. So any insight into whether, I know that some studies are going to be required as part of the EULA process, but if anybody's going to be looking at that in terms of the density in the area.
That's Mariama, if we're still here in 2030 when they get the building built. But me personally, I'll be bounced now. Go ahead.
So completely understood the point about Gotham Park. I mentioned them as one of many individual entities that we are meeting with, including PACE, including New York Presbyterian, including I want to say Spruce School, but the name is eluding me.
We know who you're talking about.
There's
You know,
and Spruce Street, both.
Slip and.
By the way, both built after 9/11 because of the rise in population, both suffering from enrollment issues with the loss of affordable housing, enough so that we had hundreds of migrant families that we were able to support in this neighborhood.
But I list them as illustrative of the organizations that we are talking to. And Mariana, to your point about Southbridge. So while yes, we did have a presentation with the board just last night, we were asked to come back and to do a presentation for the full community, which we are absolutely open and committed to do, so that it's as the closest neighbors to this development site, your feedback and your concerns. We heard from board members, concerns about construction, concerns about structural integrity, concerns about shadows, several others that were raised last night. And I'm sure that we'll hear more as we, when we meet with all of you. And then to your point about air quality, when was the building cleaned post 9/11? You're correct, there will be an environmental review before anything is removed, relocated, torn down. There will be an environmental review process, which does have a public input component.
Okay, next person in room? Nope, Rosa. Oh, sorry. Rosa's from Gotham Park and board member.
Yeah,
Rosa.
and Tammy, I am so frankly pissed at what you said. I am enormously upset about that. So Gotham Park is not reaching out internally to City Hall. Gotham Park, I mean, the CV, right now, you're sitting in a room and your offices are actually in space. No, I get to speak, Tammy. You get to speak all the time. So I am going to speak now, please. Thank you very much. This is my time. Now,
We did
for
not say
instance,
that you
no,
reached out to
Tammy,
City
Tammy,
Hall.
just stop. Just
We didn't say
please,
that.
just stop. Okay, now the community board happens to live rent free, I think, in One Center Street. And does that mean that you are beholden to the city? We have not gotten a single dollar from City Hall. In fact, we are fighting to gain access to public space for the community. And then we go out there begging for funding everywhere privately so that we can provide free programming for the community. And for you to say that we are in the pocket of City Hall is beyond insulting. So number one. Number two, getting back to the topic at hand, we enormously welcome for the community affordable housing. But I just want to point out to the people who are speaking about, well, why should the community, or why should we pay for any land for relocation of the offices that are in that space? Well, obviously, if the commercial uses are still occupying the land, then we can't use the land for affordable housing. So they have to move. And I think personally, that's just like math, right? So if we want affordable housing, then the current users need to be relocated. For that to happen, unless you want them to dissolve or move somewhere else that we don't know where it is, that is a cost. And I understand that and I accept that. And I think anybody who is able to do math would do the same. On the issue of why is the building in disrepair, look, obviously none of us know the answer, but I do know that a lot of times commercial building users move, within a typical time frame of 15, 20, 30 years. And that's because it's so disruptive to the people who work in those spaces to be able to do repair work, significant repair and refresh work. It's easier for them to just pick up, do that work somewhere else, and then move their staff in. And so this isn't out of the normal, frankly, for commercial office space. And that's why FIDI has a lot of movement out of FIDI in our old Class B buildings and into newer buildings, right? That's just part of the landscape of FIDI. We would love to see, and I think every single one of us has been in this community board listening to all the different needs that we have in this community. Yes, we want socioeconomically diverse, affordable housing. I think we want affordable housing, but also market rate housing, because we want it to be diverse. I think that is a critical component of this relationship and what could happen here. And the other thing is we also have a lot of community facility needs. And I hope that those will also be considered in whatever is going on and being planned here. And I hope that you will continue to engage with the community in an open-hearted way. I mean, I feel like I only found out about this not that long ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And I am thankful that you were able to create the time to share the project with us. And I know that when we spoke, you mentioned a bunch of other community partners that you were going out to. And so I am going to trust that you are doing that outreach to the community partners and encourage that you continue to do that outreach with community partners. There are a lot of diverse stakeholders in this location, we know, because we engage with a lot of them. And so I hope that, look, if this is going to be happening in this location, then we want to have a strong say. We're very vocal. We are not shy, as you can hear from this meeting. We are going to express ourselves sometimes loudly, hopefully politely, and respectfully. And we live here. This whole space is important to us. We fight constantly, not fight as in aggressively, but we work really hard to create a space that we want to be able to raise our families in, where we want our children to be educated, where we want to be able to walk around and feel safe in our community. And so I hope that that is something that we are going to be working for together. And that's all I want to say. But I mean, Tammy, seriously, you crossed a line. That was incredibly insulting. I am also a human being and I have opinions that I express on the community board. And we are not in the pocket of City Hall.
Yeah.
And every other community-based organization that has a single contract or
Rosa, I muted you only because I have 3 other people who need to speak. All right. And I'm sorry you took it that way, but around the room, I'm getting people heading saying that's not exactly how I said it. So you and I can catch.
That was how it was said, and you can play the tape back on YouTube because it'll be there forever.
Paul Goldstein and Michael Kramer.
Thank you. You know how many projects have come before the community board that were certainly controversial and not welcome, and this is certainly one of them. You know, there will be many objections to this, many valid, because it's bringing thousands of new people into the neighborhood. And Tammy, with all due respect, I think the only issue you're talking about is affordable housing. And I think that is an important need down here, but particularly for East Side, we have many, many needs that are unmet. You know, I mean, I hate to point it out, but Battery Park City is loaded with beautiful parks and open space and schools and, you know, everything you need, basically. I don't say you shouldn't have it, but people on the east side of the district need to be considered. So historically, when we had projects like this, the community board identified local needs that we'd like to fill as a result of the project. That's how we got PS 234 built. That's how we got to Peckslip School. I mean, community centers, all these things were done through trade-offs. And in reality, that's probably what's going to happen here to some degree. And all I'm saying is that we have many needs. School seats, for example, if we're going to put thousands of people in that space, obviously we're going to need additional school seats, youth programs. Maybe we could rebuild the new market building site into a community center. I suspect Michael Kramer might have something to say about that subject, and I support that. And I just want to say that we have a lot of needs down here, and we should not look at this as simply, you know, maximizing the number of affordable units, which is important, but not the only issue. Even with the senior programs, there's, you know, Hamilton Madison is one program that recently got started at Southbridge, but they've had a senior program, a different one, that has long been there, and they might want to share in the discussion of how seniors are accommodated through a project like this. We need a library on the east side. There are many, many needs. All I'm saying is that I think we should open our ears and consider them all. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Funny, Paul, that's why we had hoped that the survey that would go out that ask the community for needs would be done before the RFP was fully formed. So the RFP could include some of the highlights of the community need. And they did speak to purchasing a new real estate location, not only for the office space, but also for the senior center. So there were, that was part of the presentation. I don't know if you missed that, but for the Smith House Senior Center that's located at 100 Gold, they're looking to purchase a new space for that. And again, purchasing an office building in where? Lower Manhattan, or are you looking at moving the department off?
No, the
out?
plan would be to move them within Lower Manhattan. It's beneficial for them to stay close to City Hall, so. And there's a lot of vacancies in those buildings here.
So I'm just clarifying, the real estate market is hot enough that you want to sell this to the highest bidder, and then you're gonna have to then turn around and buy another building in the hottest real estate market to house the office, instead of renting another space, right?
Correct. It's a lot more expensive for the city budget to rent in perpetuity than to buy a space.
And also the commercial market, right?
And there's a lot of vacant office spaces we know downtown, so there's a lot of buildings being traded for well below previous market value. So the plan would be to capitalize on that market downshift, buy an office building at below replacement cost and move into it.
Okay, Paul, so would you support the conversation that we were having before, that the RFP should wait until after the survey informs and comes back?
For sure, we should have a wider discussion as to what the community givebacks will be.
Mr. Kramer goes next, and then Justine,
Okay.
you have your hand up again.
My experience with RFPs is that once they're issued, they become the controlling document. So I'm curious about a couple of things. The first question I have is, this is roughly 95,000 square feet, the lot size. What FAR are you contemplating for this site in the RFP? Is it an FAR of 10 or is it FAR of 18 or is it more?
Yeah, so the RFP will remain open for respondents to propose. As of right, the site allows for 12 FAR using an inclusionary housing or plaza bonus. So we imagine that developers will put forth proposals at both 12 FAR as of right, and then potentially additional proposals at a higher rezoned FAR. There are two new districts, R11 and R12, which allow for 15 and 18 FAR respectively. So we're keeping the RFP open, but it's something to be negotiated through this full ULURP process that we have for this project.
And what is your position on transferring air rights to add to that FAR of 18?
I don't know that there's anywhere to transfer air rights from.
Southbridge has excess air rights as an example.
Something to look into.
And this corporation at Pier 17 has these air rights that seem to be able to go anywhere if the mayor wants them to. And they have a lot of unused air rights as well. Can you assure us that the air rights are not going to come from the piers?
I personally haven't looked into air rights at all, so we can take it back to the team and get you an answer on that.
Has there been discussion at all about using additional air rights from anywhere?
Not in discussions I've had. I'm not.
Michael, anything else?
Okay, and then I would just add, and thank you, Paul, and piggybacking off a couple of people, the increased density, we need more open space. We need both indoor and outdoor recreation space. So I would like you to consider, what's happening on the waterfront, and EDC is pretty much controlling the waterfront with all the decisions about coastal resiliency and all the decisions about pier leases. And we certainly, I'm the president of the South Street Seaport Coalition. We're working, the community board has endorsed the idea of an East River working group, and we're working to connect the park from 14th Street all the way down to the Battery. And we're looking to increase opportunities for active and passive recreation, both indoor and outdoor, which brings us to the new market site, which brings us to the idea of a Seaport Recreation Center. So we would like to have a conversation with you as well on this. And we'd like to have it before the RFP is published, because after it's published, it's useless to have the conversation. Thank you.
Have you done any evaluations on how much affordable housing that you're looking? Because the max that I've seen in conversations and dialogue was 25 or 30. So I'm sure the real estate team's done evaluations on things. If you're ready to do the RFP, what was the city's?
So at this time, because proposals could come back kind of at a variety of FARs, because we don't know the relocation price 3 years out, we don't have a maximum affordability. We'll set a minimum in the RFP, which can then get continued to be negotiated through the ULURP process.
And what is the minimum that the city is looking to put?
The absolute minimum is 25%. Again, that's just a baseline in the RFP. It is not indicative of where we hope to land.
At what 25%?
It would be 25% at an average 6%.
Is the RFP going to indicate that the winner is the top dollar, or is there going to be value in maximizing affordable units? I mean, obviously you need enough to cover your moving costs, but it seems to me once you've covered those, you don't need top dollar.
That's exactly right. We're hoping to cover those moving costs and then to use all of the additional value from the project towards public benefits, including affordable housing and other community needs.
Instead of purchasing new space for the senior center, what about keeping the senior center on site as part of the RFP so it lowers the amount of out cost that's needed?
So we can look into that in initial sort of looks at the structure of this. Moving that senior center twice is a lot more disruptive to the services they provide, but right now we don't have a definitive, like it has to move away or it can move away and then come back. But there's that period of construction that they'd have to move out and then move back.
And that with the depressed real estate market with office class and massive vacancies, does the city have valuation on the long term, why it is more cost effective to buy real estate in lower Manhattan versus renting?
We can look into that and get back to you with some answers.
That hasn't been done yet?
I don't have access to it.
I'm sorry, Tim, I got distracted. Could you ask the question again, please?
The land is valuable, so valuable that you'd like to sell. Instead of buying, since we have huge vacancy rates.
Why not lease
Why
at
not
another
lease? Correct.
location?
And what's the price point valuation that you have in between leasing and renting?
So we're happy to take this back to DCAS for more specifics, but my understanding is that the city is typically hesitant to enter into long-term leases because of the costs associated with that rather than owning outright, is the way that I understand it.
It's an ongoing cost forever that they currently don't have.
I guess my one question is EDC is famous for renting things out for 50 and 100 years to other people. But you don't want to be that same renter. Is that the ideal?
Well, it wouldn't be EDC, it would be DCAS.
Okay, we're gonna potentially do 2 resolutions tonight, so the board is prepared. Eric, you had his hand up and then fell off. Eric, did you want to ask a question? Because you're the only one so far that has not.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, I had to come back. So I'm concerned that this is being rushed because I know that you said construction wouldn't begin or there'll be no vacating of the property until 2030. But I saw that the RFP process would begin immediately and it would be and the developer would be selected before the end of this year. And the second concern is with the 100% affordability, the price that the city will get because of the subsidies, the developer will put this all into their costs. So the city will not get any value or they will get a very low price for this property. And I foresee that there won't be any money to buy a replacement of property for the senior center or the city agencies, and they'll end up leasing it. And this will all be done before the election. And then what's going to happen is that once the developer is selected through the RFP, you can't cancel the contract without financial penalties.
So once the developer is selected, we'll enter into a contract of sale, which will set up a number of milestones that we would have to meet before closing, including a full ULURP process. The project fails in ULURP, we never close.
All right, so Justine and Mariam, I'm going to ask you to wait because we need to do a resolution tonight to feed back to EDC. Things that I've heard from the board. Oh, sorry, the public. Yes, apologies.
Question.
Please say your name for the record.
Coco Dornano, I'm a Southbridge resident. I'm curious if you guys have taken into consideration what the Hughes development will be like in respect to this development, because the Hughes development is gonna cast a nice shadow and low light to the east of Southbridge. And then this project, 64-story monstrosity, will be to the north. So we will literally be blocked off by windows and buildings. But that's a huge detriment to the community in terms of light and air. I mean, there's a Wall Street effect already downtown and Vidai. This will be absolutely devastating for this community. So no more sunlight to the east. We get nothing coming from the north anymore. It's a horror. So that I think has to be taken into consideration. Where I'm not okay with
And
that.
I've got forearms on the left as well. Do you have an answer for that yet?
So that is what would be assessed during the environmental review process. So that would look at current development, future development, shadows, impact. So we're still a ways away from that would be reviewed.
Sort of offers that you can get, but in fact, if you're gonna have to split the tower into two to allow for access for air and light, then that takes away a third of your ability to build,
So to Ashley's point, because closing does not happen until after an approved ULURP, an environmental review happens before ULURP, it means that those environmental considerations are under consideration or in the process even before ULURP in a final.
Are those rights, air rights, and are they built into the contract so that an offer that comes in, I mean, what would stop somebody
They
you
still
guys
need-
from
they still
developing?
So we'll help you learn the ULURP process, because they only have a certain amount that they could build as of right. Anything that's offered beyond that has to be approved through a ULURP process, which involves, of course, the advisory role of the CB, for what that matters, some days. The city council person has a vote, and then it goes to the full city council. It really will be,
Even beyond its right, it's disposition of,
and it's disposition of city property as well. So there'll be opportunities for the public to definitely opine. And I promise there's a ULURP made easy for the public understanding that we can help you get to, because I think everybody at Southbridge should have that so they understand what it is.
Thank you.
We're gonna start with the four. I would appreciate if the four of you stand and the first person introduces themselves, and we'll go back to front to back. So the gentleman in the front go, and then the lady in the back is at the end.
Good evening, my name is John Ost. I'm a resident of Southbridge Towers, occasionally on the board of directors, but very active in the community anyway. And some of the concerns I have are related to the construction. Because right now, at this point in time, the hospital, as New York Presbyterian, has expanded tremendously. And they're doing construction on both streets adjacent to the hospital. And because they've become a lot, they double park their ambulances on the street. So we have traffic disruption. This particular construction regarding 100 Gold Street is going to take place on the corner of Frankfurt and Gold Street. Now, what the police department has done is they have closed Park Row, and it's still not open. Southbridge, among the other co-ops, sued, got it open to buses and got it open to emergency vehicles. Let me tell you this, I have never seen an emergency vehicle go there, no hospital and no fire department, because the check-in takes so long that they lose time. So the result is Frankfurt Street is a basic parking lot sometimes during the day, no traffic can move. And the police department have closed a lot of other streets around, which they use, including Park Row, to park their agency vehicles all over the place, and their workers park their cars there. So at this point in time, Pace is doing a major construction project, which also disrupts the street. So Gotham Park, which I certainly have heard the presentation, sounds good. What's going to happen to them? How are they going to use it? What's going to happen with the dust and with the noise if this in fact takes place? So I think some serious considerations have to take place about the environment that this construction would place. And so I would hope that that could be considered.
Thank you. Sir.
Oh, okay. So I'm Adam Sanowski. I'm the president of Southbridge Towers. We had a lengthy meeting yesterday. You did a pretty good job. Thank you for summarizing. There was a couple of things you didn't mention that I just want to emphasize, and maybe this will influence the resolution. One big lacking in City of Yes, and also from what we've heard, is what adding 1,000 market rate units does to the assessed value of the neighbors and how it ups the property tax and drives out the residents. Like, we are historically Mitchell-Lama. We have a lot of people living month to month. We have over 200 people on SHE, which is senior citizen sensitive. So really, that's a big lacking. And the other thing that we emphasized last night is we want time for us to engage, because you heard 9 opinionated board members. And we expressed a lot of the things Mariama. I also live in the same building as Mariama. We're neighbors, share an elevator, but we expect a lot of the, short-term, long-term concerns about construction mitigation. But we also, to Michael Kramer's point, we want to see this in the RFP. So it's factored in that there's going to be, for example, actual monitors of Southbridge's basement, because we have 50-year-old buildings. And that's just one of the many solutions to the concerns we raised. So we want the RFP timing just pushed back so we have time for us to engage with our neighbors once you guys engage with them. Hear from what our 3,000 plus residents have concerns, and then make sure those concerns are in the RFP, not in your way. Because quite frankly, if it's not in the RFP, it's not going to be a selection criteria.
Don't disagree with you. Thank you. Next.
I'm Paul Boyd, I'm a Southbridge Towers resident as well. And as you can see, I'm kind of them on that, because I don't approve of this building either, because it wouldn't just be a major disturbance to us Southbridge Towers residents, all the constructions and the blocking of the tall building that would be tall enough to obstruct our views and everything, even the sunlight, but it could also affect the economy so badly, because we could just make renovations, like restore the building, and instead that could be cheaper. And besides, it has a lot of agencies instead, a lot of government agencies that are essential, and we need those. So I think it'd be worth helping that building to the resident, instead of just making a tall building that could disturb thousands of hours, including obstructing the view, including sunlight.
Hi, my name is Katie Rappa. I'm a Southbridge Tower shareholder. I live in 333 Pearl Street, the other building that directly faces this. I'm also a Pace University alumni. I'm disappointed DCOS is not here this evening. DCOS Deputy Commissioner Jesse Hamilton is currently under investigation by the Department of Investigations for his dealings with Cushfield Equipment. Jesse Hamilton may have moved city workers to more expensive office space at 14 Wall Street to help the Adams administration donors. This redevelopment screams of more of the same. Plenty of incomplete developments downtown, like on Park Place, 250 Water Street, and Wall Street. EDC would be much more sensible to direct their political will and efforts to see these shells completed as opposed to starting new projects. The corner of Gold Street and Frankfurt Street has basic infrastructure problems stemming from the Brooklyn Bridge overpass. I have directly spoken to the Seaport Coastal Resiliency Project about the need for a bioswale at Drumgoole Park and at the corner of 100 Gold Street. Poorly placed drainage gutters from the overpass caused the corners to flood. The sidewalk on Frankfurt Street is in great disrepair. The city is currently a terrible neighbor. Why should we trust them now? The corner is poorly slated for this type of development. The building is way too massive to be on the east side of Gold Street. We as east side residents of CB1 have many other needs that have been addressed, including Park Place. The proposed development is way too close to the lot line of 333 Pearl Street. This will destroy the quality of life for Southbridge Towers residents. They will lose total view of the sky. I'm very disappointed DCAS isn't here, and I hope they come in the future. I would love to hear from them directly about this.
Thank you very much. Do I have anybody else in the room? Mariama, we cover your points? Because we're trying to, Morton, we're trying to get down
Very quickly, I just wanted to say, when it was originally shared with me that this was happening by our board member, it was said that it was going to be a 2,000 unit affordable tower of middle income and low income people. And I've learned tonight that that's not the case. So I'd like us to stop calling it an affordable housing project and perpetuating that misnomer and that falsehood, and call it what it is. Just from here on out. Thanks. That's all.
Morton.
Yes, I'll be quick. I agree with Eric that this is rushed, and I think it's too rushed. I think we're coming up on a local election year. I think the voice of the people has been ignored too many times on too many different projects downtown. I live down the street on Gold Street from this. I think the community needs to be more engaged, have more community members be heard from, and I don't think that this should go forward before the election in 2025.
So that's actually a perfect lead-in. Thank you very much, Morton. Because the question starts to become, what do we want to say about the EDC presentation and what do we think about the project overall? I don't think we have a lot that we can add for the project overall because they're rushing to RFP before they have had a chance to do serious community engagement. This is the first public meeting. What the mayor said at the State of the City was completely different than the first heads up that we got. So things are changing pursuant to what the lovely lady said in the back, pursuant to what Morton and Eric and everyone else is saying is it feels very rushed. There's not a lot of faith right now in the government, not a lot of faith in city government based on a lot of conversations that are happening. And by pushing an RFP out in February without doing any engagement, this is, again, the first public meeting we've done. Definitely makes us know that you're not actually interested in what the public thinks. Because once the RFPs, and we have had this experience with the city, with DHS, DSS, and other agencies, once the RFP is out, as Jeff has said, you're kind of, that's it, that's the contract. Your framework's done. So it's not giving the community the feeling that the things that are going into the RFP include community concerns because you haven't taken the time to develop the concerns into the RFP. It's one thing to talk to leadership who knows instantly kind of, but hearing from everybody in the public is what we do as a community board. So Morton and others have suggested, I would definitely say that's a great way to go, is that we say in a resolution back to the mayor's office, EDC and DHS, that we think that the RFP should be delayed. A motion is, part of the conversation was until after the election.
After the election.
The election's June 24th, the primary.
An election is an election. Let's leave it the major election, not a primary, because we don't do by politics. We're doing it by government change, right?
Should be in
And
November. Should be.
And then this,
We don't know who's gonna.
and we want the survey, right? The survey to go out and pursuant to what Paul Goldstein and Rosa and everybody were saying was to collect robust feedback on community needs. We have concerns, although Jeff doesn't necessarily concern, we have concerns about the amount of money that will be set aside for affordable housing. And whether that means you're selling the property at highest value and having to subsidize the winner is kind of a problem. Because that's what we've been told by the city. It doesn't matter, is that you can't build affordable housing in Lower Manhattan because the subsidies that it requires to make the developer whole, and that's part of the presentation that HPD did at Borough Board as well, is it a self-perpetuating prophecy for this site. If you're selling it for the highest bid, then yes, it's going to be really hard to do a lot of subsidies to repay for what the developer's looking to get out of the property. So the question becomes of what analysis has HPD and EDC done to find a way to prioritize, number one, The number one thing is the community's response and the community's needs and the community's wants over purchasing an office building and purchasing another real estate location for the senior center. So we're not saying that the people at HPD don't deserve beautiful places to work. We understand all of those needs, but the question is, it doesn't make sense to what I'm hearing from people to buy at the height of a market if you're selling this land when there is so much vacancy right now, and whether and how that works. So that's gonna go into our resolution as well. About, we want the survey, we wanna see some analysis on how to maximize housing and community needs before. Because there's a real reality here that you could sell the land, go to buy an office building, get all your moving costs done, buy a place for a senior center, and have minimal money left over to be able to subsidize that building for affordable housing. And that the community gets nothing more than 25%. And again, by the time you get this built, whatever affordable housing we have here will have sunset from expiration. So that's a problem. If you want to, Gigi knows the Gateway Plaza program very well. That one expires in 2029.
2030.
2030.
Because it's been renegotiated before, but yes, keep going.
But it expires.
Yes.
We just keep losing. We're not gaining ground. And that's a problem for the community. So with these notes here, we're asking EDC to not do an RFP and to delay it until after the election, to collect robust community engagement and feedback, do a variety of public meetings, not just one or two, and to do analysis on how to maximize community needs based on what comes out of the surveys and diversified, socioeconomically diverse housing. Does that sound, do I have everybody's notes kind of right?
Well, can I speak to that?
Call the question.
Wait.
Yeah, I mean, I could not vote for that resolution. I can vote for something somewhat similar to that. I don't think it's appropriate to delay the RFP until after the election. I think that's an arbitrary delay that I think inappropriately ties things to a political situation as opposed to what we think is appropriate to get the proper community input. I do agree that rushing the RFP before the kind of comments that we are making and that others as part of the community engagement may be making, that it shouldn't be rushed, because I do have the concern that once the RFP goes out, and of course we haven't seen it, and I'm not sure under procurement rules we're even allowed to see a draft. But I would at least like to have the opportunity for the community and us to identify what we'd like to see in the RFP, as well as what we'd like not to see in the RFP. I don't think it takes 11 months or until November for that input to take place. And I do have a concern that it is very, very difficult to build affordable housing. It is too difficult to build housing, period. We need a lot of housing. We need a lot of affordable housing. I don't think we should just delay it arbitrarily until November if what we are trying to achieve is just better input into the RFP.
So question then, Mariama and Rose have hands up, and, well, Brendan has not said one word this whole time. We're gonna go to Brendan first, and pursuant to what Jeff's saying, I mean, we need to give a target. If we're not saying the election, although I do think that concerns were raised on faith in administration and faith in communication. That is something that I want to counter with. Brendan.
Slightly related to that, I was just going to ask if we wanted to give, so I believe the first survey was supposed to go out on Monday. Do we want to say how long we potentially should delay that so that we're able to give input into what that survey is? I don't know if it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, but just.
Good question. Anybody have any thoughts? I mean, they've been listening so far, so I don't know if to change the survey to make sure that they include some of
But
the
you had already said
conversations
you
in
would do that.
question.
Yeah, and if it's appropriate for me to
Please
not
do.
necessarily respond directly to everything, but for the things that I can commit to this evening, the first is commitment to send the draft survey to you tomorrow. The second is the commitment that we've made to meet with Southbridge Towers in a larger Southbridge Towers focused meeting. We've also committed to an additional public meeting because I absolutely understand the feedback that this is the first one that we are having. We are committed to having an additional one. I understand that that changes the timeline. And so I think we will come back to you with, our thoughts on the timeline. The piece about holding, longer is obviously something that EDC cannot decide just on its own because we're working with HPD, the mayor's office, and others, but.
Are you saying that the meeting with Southbridge Towers would be to get information that would affect changing the survey? Or you're just having a meeting with
No.
Southbridge Towers?
Actually, I would hope to have the survey up even before the meeting with Southbridge Towers, so we could use the meeting to advertise it and to, we'd have the survey link available and encourage people to fill it
Well, I
out.
think the issues that they're making, the Southbridge Towers residents are making need to be included.
Well, I think we
Some
would
of it.
absolutely have like a free form question in the survey, so that if there's something that we haven't specifically identified, anyone could add anything else to it.
Okay. Mariama, Rosa, Justine.
So I want to support resolution in the way that you outlined it. I think it is a good idea to state that we're waiting until after the election. So that, because there is some problems with faith in the current administration and what's happening. I mean, we do have an indictment on the table too. We don't know what's going to happen, in addition to the things that were already mentioned tonight. And so that would be, after the election, would let us know if the current administration is going to remain or if we're working with somebody else and how we can move forward from there. So I think that was appropriate. And I just want to support the resolution as you stated it. Thanks.
Rosa, and then Justine.
I had a question and a comment. The comment was that I also agree that the RFP should not be rushed and that there should be varied and deep community engagement with all of our stakeholders, of which there are many. But I agree with Jeff that tying it to the election doesn't make sense. I think so long as the engagement is there and it is deep and real, then we should be able to move forward. So that's my comment. My question is that the building currently has, I think it was around 500,000 square feet occupied right now. So essentially the money that you are able to raise while still creating affordable housing is dependent on the square footage that could be built here. And so my question is, what is the varying square footage that you are imagining with the different FAR scenarios could be built on the site? Because it's essentially the larger the building is, or the more square footage that it is, the more affordable housing there could be, but that's probably in direct conflict with what the vast majority of the direct neighbors would like to see, right? So the smaller the bulk, then the less affordable housing, but then the smaller the bulk, versus the bigger bulk, the more affordable housing. But like, what's the ratio? What's the trade-off? What square footages are we looking at?
But Rosa, also remember what the conversations that we had at 5 World Trade. The key was the taller the building, the less affordable housing that we could get. Actually, the shorter the building.
Right, the higher
and
the
less-
construction cost. Yeah.
Correct, right.
Yeah, but also if they're getting the square footage, if they're getting the zoning square footage for a lower cost, then because they have to agree to build affordable in there, then that's the sort of that's the control lever for how much affordable we can get, right? So are we, as a community board, are we fighting for more affordable housing, but accepting the bigger bulk, or are we saying we want the lower bulk but we'll accept the less affordable housing. And what is the bulk that we're talking about or square footage?
So let me answer the question. What we're asking HPD is to come back to us with scenarios. Because we asked what the cost value scenario and particularly in that would be to be able to get what we're talking about. So they need to actually come back to us and give us examples and samples, which I'm sure they have modeling for what they could do. That's, I mean, well within their bailiwick.
So do they have that now is my question to them tonight. Do they have a sense of what is the range of affordable housing based on the different FAR that you're looking at? Because you did mention FARs tonight.
Can you clarify?
Yeah, so we don't have underwriting to share with you tonight. We don't have analyses to share with you tonight, but the range of FARs that I spoke about were a range from the as of right scenario, which is 12 FAR, up to the highest density new zoning district that was created as part of City of Yes, which is R12, which allows for an 18 FAR. Generally, the more dense housing is, the more affordability that can be borne by it. Again,
So again, we're gonna ask you to come back to us as part of the engagement that we're looking for. We really want robust engagement on this site. I think there's nothing short of that you can see. I cannot imagine a one meeting commitment is enough for this project. And this could be precedent setting. Remember, we are looking for fair housing.
Tammy, a point of clarification, can I ask you a question?
Hold on a second, let Justine go and then you can do your point of clarification. Then I think I can do something that gets kind of to a goal post for a vote.
Thank you. I'll be quick. And Miriam, I might be saying what you're saying, but I might not. So first of all, I support the resolution the way that Tammy wrote it. I think that waiting until the election will make it clearer as to what's going to be happening in the city for the next 4 years. This is public land, and there may be a big shift, or maybe not a big shift, but there may be a shift if we have a change in mayor. So while I appreciate the need for affordable housing sooner, and I appreciate the need to move things along, there's a really good reason to wait. So that's number one. But number two, I just want to point out that something that we learned with 5 World Trade Center and in the process, EDC said that there's a height or it was said, I don't want to peg it to EDC. It was said that there's a height at which it becomes no longer feasible to add more affordable housing, because once you get past a certain height in the building, it becomes way more expensive to keep building up. So
Correct.
So I don't understand, because I don't understand, 12 FAR or 18 FAR. How many stories are we talking about? 60, 80, 100? What are we talking?
Again, I think they don't have the answer to give us yet, but we are going to ask them to come back with scenarios as part of the engagement that they're gonna have to come back with next time so we can understand. The community wants to partner, wants to get all the community needs on document. The community may be flexible in saying, yeah, we'd support a taller ULURP if it got us greater housing and got us money for parks and got us a
Yes.
library and helped fund Gotham Park.
And
sorry,
yeah.
I knew she'd say it anyway. Anyway, but I mean, there are lots of needs that we have. We've got a huge district needs, but we
And
need
agree.
the city
And
hall.
and
So
and,
wait,
and
hold
I
on,
also,
Justine.
if I could just make this, so
Justine, I'm gonna lose quorum, otherwise I gotta be careful. All right, the other thing that I'm gonna go down the road, there's an argument as to not to wait to November. We don't make votes based on any one political party that's against the rules of a community board, but we do need more time. It is not unreasonable to say 6 months from where we are today, because that would give us a couple weeks. That would give you ideally the survey to be robustly changed to include the feedback that you heard today, which is January 23rd. So if it took you a week or two to get that out, then the survey would go out in the beginning of February. You have to give the public time to see the survey, to respond to the survey, maybe have a public meeting about the survey and showing information that would be good. Then having another follow-up from that as a public meeting that talks about the engagement before you get the RFP done. So I think that if we said 6 months, that gets us kind of where we would want with engagement and survey, because if the survey's out, let's say for 30 days, which is a public comment period, more or less.
Oh, but wait a minute, don't people have to know what the project is before they get the survey?
The survey's about community needs. What does the community want to see at 100 goal? What could it, and I mean, we haven't seen the survey, but the question starts to become, if we as a community board were 30 or 45 day to 60 to 90 day public comment period, right? So let's just say the survey went out and it had 30 days or 45 days. Survey goes out in February. That means they get survey results in March, they collate, they present, they come to a community board meeting and they do another public meeting. This is what we've heard from the community. This is how we think that could be represented in an RFP. Because what we all know is once the RFP goes out, if a contract gets signed by that, you're done. So that gives us some time.
Nothing's gonna happen for 6 months. You're delusional if you think that the survey is gonna come out next week, which is the beginning of February. It's not gonna happen. So let's give ourselves some time. I don't think we put it in terms of the election or any of that.
We
but
could
let's
say
be
November
realistic
without saying the election.
That's all I'm asking.
That's why I said 6 months.
I think it's fine.
But Tammy, I need to understand something.
We're in agreement, but these are political decisions. And what's more an evocative of community engagement in the election, and it become part of the political debate, not just the mayor or the city council.
Cannot be involved in political decisions. That is against the city charter. So we can ask for a time delay. We can say 6 months because that seems reasonable based on public comment about coming back, engaging as a target. We'll be lucky if they give us 2. No offense intended. Mariama.
So I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this, because we keep going back to this conversation about affordable housing. But I thought that what I heard was if there's any change left over, we'll get affordable housing and we'll require that it's at least 25%. Is that incorrect?
That's the way I understood it.
Okay, so then we need to stop talking about, if we want to bring affordable housing, we need to do this, we want to do that. That's not what's being proposed. What's being proposed is market rate housing, at least 75% of it. So let's talk about that and make our decisions in that, with that being considered, not with affordable housing being considered, because that's not what's on the table. Thanks.
Okay, so again, we're going back. So we're asking for the RFP to be delayed by 6 months to allow the survey to be updated, information out for 30 days.
At least.
Robust engagement and more than one public meeting, because we want another public meeting to get the survey out, to have people be able to be responsive. And then we want a public meeting on what your survey responses were and how they will be informed into the RFP.
And the borough, well, totally aside, the borough president should be able to help you with addresses of people also. And Christopher Marte's office.
Yeah.
That's not our business. They should be able to do it.
We will absolutely help get as much engagement as we can. Okay.
Oh, the question?
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Hands up. Let's get hands up. Are there any abstentions? Are there, hearing no abstentions, hearing none online? Joe, are you abstaining? Remember, your cameras have to be on. I see a lot of waving, but I need, oh, those were hands up for yeses, sorry. Are there any abstentions?
Yeah, it's the time frame that I'm objecting to.
Yeah.
Tammy, say it again.
Are there any, it's a vote by affirmation. I see lots of hands up. Are there any abstentions? I'm asking for abstentions now.
Actually, going to abstain. I think 6 months is very, very long.
Okay. Netta abstains. Galloway abstains. Are there any no's? Okay, abstains. Are there any no's?
Does Mariama have her hand up?
It was for a yes. It was for a yes vote because I said hands up. All right, hearing no no's, motion passes. All right, you kind of know where we are. We hope to see you back. We hope to see the survey. We'd be happy to be part of an engagement facility to get as much out.
And thank you.
And thank
You
you.
were a very good sport.
Yeah.
You really were, you were set up there, and I really want to say thank you. You did a good job. You
Well, we
really
we
did.
definitely appreciate you having us, and I do wanna just acknowledge, because it was brought up a couple of times, that I do apologize that what was shared in December was different from what was shared by the mayor at the state of the city. That we Tuesday and today were not fully prepared to be responsive to the feedback that was given in December. I take responsibility for that, but
No,
appreciate,
it's not
but
your
just
fault.
wanna say, I want
No, it's
to
not you.
appreciate the
And it wasn't Diana
opportunity
either.
to, not at all.
Yeah.
No, it's not your
Um,
fault. That's what we're saying.
But want to appreciate the opportunity to reset, welcome your feedback on the survey, and then we'll follow up on all of the items from tonight.
And you'll provide the survey tomorrow.
We'll send it over tomorrow.
A draft, and I'll circulate
Because
the
it can
draft.
be amended, right?
It can be amended.
It's a draft, and if there are things that we disagree with in terms of your edits, we'll set up a meeting to
Okay.
discuss
So
why.
What our board office is gonna do is distribute to the board the survey and ask for feedback.
Okay.
And so we'll get the feedback and we'll send you the feedback. Okay, so please send us a deadline for when you want your feedback, so we can get it to you in
Okay,
proper.
well,
Because again, we want to partner,
Yeah.
but HPD, understand, fair housing law, we want affordable housing. That's our number one. And we need money for parks, and we need money for library and schools and in recreation.
About the old folks.
All right, let's hit the next items and let's rock.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
We were just the first, that's like last night at.
Outdoor dining, outdoor dining.
Okay, please move the conversation down the hall.
Right, outside, down hall. Thank you. If you were here for outdoor dining, please take a seat at the table. Thank you. I appreciate if you're here for outdoor dining, taking a seat at the table so we can hear your presentation. Let's see.
Sorry, guys, can you move it outside?
Hello? Well, thank you.
We're rushing you.
Yeah, we are rushing you. Please leave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay,
I wasn't aware that I was supposed to do a presentation.
we have your stuff, so you should be in good shape for us.
Okay.
All right, so I just want to connect with who's here, just to make sure, because I know it was really long. Is Damian O'Brien?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Gina Escalante should be online. I will make sure we move her up. Zach, that's you. Michael Kelly is online from Bubby's, and Scott Perez from Walker's, right? So we're gonna do Damian first and then Scott. We have the paperwork from Monk McGinnis that we can share. You want me to do that, Zach, or you?
I can do that if you.
Yeah, let's
just
put it
make
up.
Sure
Okay,
your online folks are covered.
okay, I will do that. All right, so let me find. If you are from any of the restaurant establishments that I called and you're online, please raise your hand so I can move you over. I see Gina, she's here. Thank you so much. And the other person. Gina, I see you online, and Michael Kelly, I just need to make sure you're online. Okay, Michael, I got you. We'll move you over as well. Thank you so much. Theodore, I'm not sure who you're with, but I'll move you over as well. All right, so take it away. And behind me should be your application. We're gonna scroll up. Thank you.
57 Murray.
Yep.
Okay, well, I don't know anything about the presentation, like
Damian.
sorry, I got a phone call yesterday morning to appear here, I don't know anything about the presentation.
All right, so we have your application for roadbed dining.
Yes.
Right. I will tell you that, we have only seen one outdoor dining complaint that came through 311 for you.
Right.
And it was about the setup and the conditions. So, of the old stuff.
Okay.
So moving along, taking a look at what you submitted, let's, scroll to, we need to just kind of make sure that this will not be your
No.
setup.
Yes, that's what I'm just about to say.
Thank you.
You're looking at something that's 4 years old.
Yes.
So it's weathered, it's beaten, it's, you know, we started with something half the size of that when COVID hit. And then we
Yes.
just, we made it bigger, we put the roof on it, so on and so forth.
Gotcha. Brendan has a hand up. Okay, let's scroll to the next page. There you
So
go.
it's sidewalk and road bed.
No, this is
Just
road
road
bed only.
No sidewalk,
So we have to just confirm, are you ever going to be applying for sidewalk?
no.
Okay.
Okay,
For me, it doesn't make sense because I can only put two deadlines.
yeah, we see.
Gotcha.
Okay.
To think about it.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
Yes.
so let's go over, I've got, Brendan has his hand up online. Brendan?
With the new regulations, I'm pretty familiar with this around the corner for me. You're not able to have the coverage. Are you still expecting to have televisions in your setup?
I would like to. Because you're allowed to run electric out there, so I would like to have 2, 3 TVs out there. It's
But then how are you going to protect it? Because you can't enclose it anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
yes, you can enclose it.
No.
that's,
Not 100%, but it can be enclosed. You are allowed, like we had before, you are allowed 3 walls. That's my understanding.
Right, but it won't cover your TV.
You're allowed to have a ceiling. You're allowed.
that's not our understanding. We read it very
Okay, so
carefully.
if you go on the website right now,
Yeah.
it will show you 3 different designs and all 3 of them have roofs on them. There's actually a YouTube video where they do it, where they're sitting down with 2 people or 3 people. It actually has a solid roof on it.
But would you take these TVs down every night?
Well, the idea is you take them down every night, they're gonna get broken every week. That's the issue with that. It can be
So,
done, but it's like.
It says, it says on, right on your thing, overhead covering, right?
Yes,
And it says umbrellas, right?
yes, it's gonna depend on the time of year. Obviously, we're not gonna start with a roof on. But it's gonna depend on the weather. In a sense, what I would like to put in it is something like a roll in, roll out awning. If it's possible, I don't know that yet.
No, you don't, yeah.
Yeah, because it's,
Complicated.
it's very complicated because it has to be easily removable.
Yes, that's what I have to do, because when we spent, whatever we spent in the last one is gone, it's gone. It is what it is. This one will have to be built so that I can store it in our basement, because otherwise, I can't build one every year. It wouldn't make any sense.
No.
Right. Well, we certainly do have some concerns about having the roof and how that works, as long as it's compliant. You know, that's the most important thing. And what kind, are you gonna go till midnight out there
No,
or?
we can't go to midnight. The last time we were here, remember, we did
Yeah,
10 o'clock during the
Yeah,
week
yeah.
and 11 o'clock on the weekends.
love you for remembering that.
That's
Thank
fine
you.
by me.
Okay,
Hey,
great.
it's fine by you, it's fine by us.
I don't want people out there that, we're not a lip or anything.
I know,
We're
Yeah.
not talking to
I
you.
know.
All right, does anybody else have any other questions? Miriam, is your hand up for this? Go ahead, Mimi.
So when you say overhead covering, is it
Oh,
like
sorry,
a bathroom?
let me take it down.
That would be my intention, is like for argument's sake, like a vestibule. That's what I would like to put on the top half. Now,
I'm just looking at.
I gotta see
fabric.
What's
how to work with
allowable?
that, because people can walk by and just,
You don't want them to splash it,
Exactly.
right?
yeah.
You also don't want the wind to whip it off.
Exactly, so it would be something like that, like a hard plastic or something, but I would like to have it vestibule style.
So it would be like a flexible thing that you could easily store in your basement?
Yes, so there would be panels and you would actually fix them together, it's, for lack of a better word, like building with Lego.
Yeah,
But
it
that you
was
can-
like some kind of plexiglass or
Yeah,
something. that
yes,
could
and
be-
they would interlock into each other.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you could,
And then you
that,
can
and that's,
them all out.
they could separate so you could take them down.
Exactly, yeah,
Mhm.
so it would be panel based.
I was just curious.
So he has to really approve it.
Well, if they do, if the DOT, isn't it DOT, who am I talking about, my
Yeah.
favorite organization?
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
they're gonna have to approve it
But they have to prove it, and also it has to be,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has to be approved by the health board also.
Yeah,
So it
no,
has to
I
be-
know.
Everything has to be met in panel so that you can lift it up and.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed, we're not
Yeah.
opposed.
I'm not
Okay.
opposed to it.
So our roadway cafe comments related to the physical footprint and dimensions, they seem fine, but we are gonna say we have concerns about the roof coverings, and right?
Well, so we had concerns, or do we just?
It's a question.
Yeah, the website has roof coverings, but they're all flexible looking. They look like
Yes, we don't have
tents.
concerns.
I don't have concerns. I just want to ensure that he's not, that he's compliant and that he's not, subject to vandalism as well. I mean, he's gonna have TVs out there. I mean, it's a doable. I know, but I do have some concern that, because it gets rowdy, it gets, I know we know.
We're not, technically, it's not a rowdy street, it's very quiet.
Yeah, I know,
People do come by.
The concern
I know what
is-
I'm saying.
In the new setup, you can't fully enclose and lock it. In the new.
I would imagine that you can, I can't see any reason you're not allowed.
You're not allowed to get.
You gotta look on my, that's what's making, that's what
why we're
makes
concerned
us.
about the TV.
That's why I'm
It could be stolen.
I mean, you're not someone we think.
Yeah.
Sidewalk side has to be completely open.
Yeah.
Yes, but I thought that you would be allowed to put a gate on it in the night.
No.
No?
No.
No, okay.
So that's.
That's our concern for you.
That's.
Easy Richards then for broken TVs.
Yeah, right, no.
All right, so I think, comments related to potential conflicts with existing curb use, we don't have any concerns about planting
No,
bike racks or
no.
bus stops. The pedestrian flow is fine.
Yeah.
The overall recommendation on the cafe setup is, we have concerns about roof covering and four sides. But otherwise, I think that's it. I think you're in great shape. Be very concerned because the rules do state that you can't put a fourth wall to like lock it up at night.
Right.
And you can't store anything outside the space.
I know that, it's gotta be in space, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I appreciate you coming in. We will,
Call the question.
call the second. We're gonna go by affirmation. I would assume everyone is in approval of this. Are there any abstentions?
Well, it is.
None? Are there any no's?
It's not him. Your time is 11, right? What time?
We
Is it
had 10 o'clock and 11 on the weekends.
Yes.
That's what we had
Yep.
last time.
Well, what is this I'm looking at?
So you wanna add that?
It says,
I don't think there's any timing on that application. It's not a question. No, that's the time of your license probably.
Maybe the time.
Yeah,
We're gonna put in the
that-
time.
that-
You can put it.
Yes, they have a full liquor license and that's their
Inside,
indoor
inside.
hours.
Yes, that's the indoor
Inside.
hours, yeah.
In the indoor, and I remember that. That's okay.
He's got his outdoor stuff.
Okay.
He's good with that.
Okay.
No,
All in favor, we all,
everybody's agreed. I hear nothing else, then motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, good luck.
All right. Completely appreciate. We'll take, our second gentleman who's been so patient with us tonight. And you're with
Walkers.
Walkers.
Yay.
So
Walkers.
what do you want? We can get it.
So Walkers on North Moore Street, Zach, can you pull that up, please?
Here.
No, we don't. That's his indoor liquor license. No.
Yeah, there is.
Where?
It's only indoors, I don't see outdoors.
First of all, for the liquor license, he said,
Bubby, that's not Walker.
We opened up,
How many Walkers?
there's a diner and those are the only other places.
We have walkers too?
1985.
Isn't that what we're doing, Walker?
yeah, we're now doing Walkers, yes.
So tell
So
me your
Walkers, yes. What are your business hours outside?
Outside, well, I mean, I planned the initial plan was just to do whatever the DOT allowed.
Which is midnight,
Right. I mean, along those lines, we've had a sidewalk cafe there, for 35 years operating with those hours, never any problem,
Okay.
So you have been operating at some of the time?
Yeah, I mean, we followed the rules for 35 years, yeah.
So
Yeah, I know,
But
but
it
it
was-
was going there, but I don't remember it being open until midnight all the time. So.
Well, we would close down,
Asking for a rollback too.
I think previously it was 11 o'clock on weekdays and 12 o'clock on weekends. This, when it was the old city sidewalk cafe.
So a couple of questions for you for walkers. You've got, looking at the space between your roadbed to the crosswalk and where the drainage is, it looks a little tight right there. And your old setup is not compliant with the new rules. So what do you
The
do?
old setup's completely gone. I mean,
Okay.
It's
gone?
Gone?
gone.
So what is the new setup gonna look like?
The new setup is gonna have a canvas roof, which is removable. It's gonna have, we're using, the industrial storage racks that they use in is gonna form the base where you put inside the water for traffic barriers. So, and, that'll be clad with, some, kind of like neoprene fabric with Walker's name on it. There'll be, also the flooring will be the same, channeled, storage racks that will have wood on them and that you could lift up and clean underneath. There'll be, like a diamond plate aluminum lip that goes from the sidewalk to the cafe. So you can have a space under there for draining. There'll be no TVs.
Oh, nice. So I just want to make clear, so none of this is going to exist.
That's the old,
That's the old,
yeah.
none of it.
But what-
Well, the way I read this is all you're gonna have is this.
Correct.
No, he's still doing sidewalk.
Yeah, with the
Yes.
sidewalk.
Yes. Have you applied for sidewalk?
Yes, when they called, when, our liaison, they assigned us, called us, she said, the roadways needs more time to get done, sidewalks will be easier, so we're gonna present the roadway, and we'll present the sidewalk later, which is the city person.
So,
There you go. Okay, that's interesting because that's not what they told us.
so I want you to look up there.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, so where does everybody walk? Will you just tell me?
He has to come back for sidewalk. He can squish his sidewalk because it's not compliant at the moment based on the new sidewalk stuff. Which is why they told him to take it back, because if you look, he doesn't have.
I know.
He doesn't have necessarily completely 8-foot clearance.
No.
Um,
Walk outside, you
That's why you
walk,
have
like,
eight
it's
foot.
tight with walking by.
It's
With
the
that.
Or on Northmore.
Right here, on the whole, yeah, sit with the grill here.
Yeah.
That's what this one.
Very
No,
tight.
it is. I
We
mean,
should-
so we have a
Guys,
fire.
Guys, we have to stick to roadbed. He's in that.
Okay.
Back, we'll come back. Be prepared.
Yeah.
You want it on all sides.
You want, this is just
One
roadbed.
roadbed is one side.
No.
I got you, Tommy. So it's for 8, 12, 16, 18 seats.
Were you advised if DOT would need to be seeking a roadway variance from FDNY due to the width of Northmore?
No.
Okay.
You need a 15-foot travel lane and I think that exists.
Okay, perfect. That's all I needed to check.
Okay.
I've been involved in other places, so, and they advised me on that. They have to be 6.5 feet.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect. All right. We have any questions from anybody?
No. Not for me. We love walking.
Okay. Hearing no
Call the
questions.
question.
Second.
All right, vote by affirmation. Do I hear any abstentions?
Who do we have online?
We have Paul Goldstein online, we have Brendan online, we have Betty online, we have Mariama online, we have Vicky and Rosa.
Question before.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're supposed to be able to have garbage things outside here. I don't see any indication for where you the garbage.
the garbage, well, during the day, you have it there. Up against the building. We put them in the basement, but you're allowed to have them up against the building during the day. And then at night, you bring them out to the street right there and they pick them up right there.
Okay, so this is Elizabeth. Okay, and then,
But we bring them out to the edge of the sidewalk. I would like to put them in the street, but it's against the law.
It's against the law.
Yeah.
All right. So,
So it would be-
any other questions? We did a vote. I heard no abstentions. I heard no. Please turn your cameras on, Rosa, Mariama, and Vicky. Seeing no abstentions, are there any in opposition? Are there any recusals? Hearing none from anybody, motion passes. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So next comes.
Bye-bye.
Gina.
Sean.
Gina, can you unmute yourself?
Sure. Hi, Gina from SWA.
What is the square?
Square. Square.
Square Diner, right.
33 Leonard Street, which is Square Diner. Gina, thank you so much. First, I want to go over if we've had any complaints, which we have. So I want to wait first and foremost, while Zach is pulling photos. Again, same conversation that we just had with the last applicant for you, Gina. You're here only for road bed, but you're going to be doing sidewalk, correct?
Yes. You're gonna apply for a sidewalk also.
And when will that come?
We already submit everything to DOT, but I know that DOT is now reviewing all the roadways first because the deadline for April 1st is coming. That's why they given more important to review this applications first.
All right, thanks. We really appreciate it. We had a couple complaints come in that we want to just be transparent and let you know. In 2024, there was a complaint about outdoor dining and the sidewalks being blocked and not having proper pedestrian clearance. There were noise complaints in 2011. That seems a long time ago, so I'm not going to worry. But somebody else called and complained that there was a late night party in November of 2023 with a DJ and dancing. I didn't know that you guys sold private events and buyouts.
I'm the architect representing the restaurant, so all the complaints that you have, I will send them to them so they can address any comment that you have.
Is anybody else here with you from the restaurant?
Yeah, let me. The owner is telling me that they do private parties.
Can you tell me, is he online with you? I'm happy to move him over if I haven't already.
Let me ask him. A ver.
Private parties? I thought we didn't allow that.
Theodore, is that you?
Yes, I'm online. Hello.
Are you from Square?
Yes, I'm the owner and operator of Square Diner.
Fantastic. Do you mind commenting on the two things that we've shared?
We're lucky enough to get busy, so sometimes the sidewalk has people waiting for tables. I don't know what to do when that happens. I don't know where to tell them to wait. If my sidewalk cafe in my indoor area is full, they wait outside. And so somebody once complained that they didn't like having people standing on the corner in the middle of brunch on the weekend. I don't know what to do for that. I try to get people to stand in line, but some people just stand around. That's what happens when we get busy. So, it's a rare occurrence, and there's never really any blockage of the sidewalks.
So the onus is on you as the owner operator to make sure that the sidewalks are clear. I'm not the one playing, I'm just jumping in. So it's definitely up to you to move them, and honestly, you just have to take your time and effort to move them and make sure they're in the right place. Quick question though, do y'all currently have a road bed dining? Because I'm mostly familiar with the sidewalk.
No, we had road bed dining, but everything was removed November 1st.
Okay, and the new road bed dining that you're gonna have, is it just what we had seen in terms of photos? It's just just planters and tables, or are you building something more robust?
There are no planters.
Well, we're hiring a company to build, you know, what DOT would approve. So, we're currently contracting a company called Soho Sheds. And, we haven't finalized the design yet, but we're, you know, it's gonna be whatever DOT can approve. These sheds are incredibly expensive, so, we won't be spending money on anything that won't be allowed. Let's put it that way.
Well,
Yeah.
we need to see something.
Are we voting on the sidewalk or are we voting on the shed today? Because if we're voting on the shed, we would need to see it.
This is for the roadway.
This is the roadbed, Brendan.
And Brendan, they don't have any, what they're doing is DOT is sending us the application, and the application has to fit into so it can't be more than, for example, 8 feet. Right? So they've sent us a drawing, and the drawing is pretty clear on where they're going around the tree beds. It's 7 foot 8 inches wide by 40, which is the max. So they're looking to take up the entire space that they're allotted.
Yeah.
We did have concerns about how close you are, and the architect can probably answer this, to the manhole cover.
I can tell you right now. Let me give you the measurement. I have it in here.
This one.
There's tables right by the manhole cover, so the question is, do you need that last row of tables? Because it seems awfully close to the manhole cover. If it's compliant, it's compliant, but we do want to ask and make sure.
Yeah, it is compliant. We need 1.6 inches from any manhole that it's on the roadway, so it is compliant.
Doesn't look like it.
It's only 1.5 feet. And I just want to confirm with Theodore, the outdoor dining area is not an area to be contracting for private parties.
No, we do private parties indoors, but we don't do anything outdoors. We never have.
We want to make sure that's the case.
And does your liquor license allow you to do private parties and buyouts?
Yes.
Wasn't gonna say no.
Zach, look it up.
It's a retail license. It's a retail license. I have
Yeah,
a
but
full liquor
still.
license. There's no reason why I can't do a private party. I've been doing the parties, I've been doing the parties, by the way, for over 5 years. So
Okay.
there's never been an issue.
Good. We only got complaints for one, so that's, I'll hope that one's a misnomer.
Honestly, I don't consider that a valid complaint. At the time that complaint was made, no one was even living next door to me. I'm a sole occupant of the only, on that property. There's no one living above me, and the only residences near me are well over 50 feet away. There's, across the street is the Con Edison station. So it's, we're not generating any noise in any way for anyone to hear. And even now that the building behind me got developed into luxury apartments, no one's ever heard or ever made any complaints. And we've had dozens of parties in that time since that apartment building has opened. So it's, if someone was complaining that we were having a party in general, I mean, fine, we're guilty of that, but we certainly don't make a lot of noise.
Okay, that's delightful. And the outside, what time are you gonna stop serving liquor?
Well, we close most days at 9 p.m. Monday and Tuesday, we close at 4. Saturday, we close at 8 p.m. and Sunday, we close at 6. So those are our hours. We may change them in the future, but I don't, for now, that's, certainly not this year or anything like that.
Do you have any other questions for us?
No.
All right.
Call the question.
Second. All right, vote by affirmation. Cameras on, please. We have no other questions since they're compliant with the manhole cover. So that puts us down to, are there any abstentions?
Abstain.
Brendan.
Brendan abstains. Thank you, Brendan. Are there any in opposition? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes. Theodore, thank you very much. Gina, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right. Last one, Bubbies.
Michael Kelly, representing Bubbies.
Hi, nice to see you. Welcome.
You too.
Okay, I'm gonna go over 311 complaints that we received copies of and, notations for you to address before we get down to the, seats and stuff. Again, outdoor dining sidewalk zones were blocked. I realize this is only road bed, but it's a major conversation that we need to have to ensure. The other thing is, it's very clear to see if you Google your restaurant. There was storage on outside the restaurant, on the next door to the roadbed of chairs. And then there was a full service station outside. Those are not currently allowed under the dining roadbed, nor under sidewalk. So you can see in the photos that you see on Google, there are chairs and such stored next to the roadbed cafe, and then there was a full service station set up outside. Neither one are allowed under current laws. So I just need to make sure that when we're having this discussion, we're super clear on that everything has to be compliant with the new rules.
Yes, we're very clear on that. I talked to the owner about it already. I think they were just putting it out there during COVID.
So we shouldn't see anything like that, right?
Correct.
Great. So for roadbed dining, can you give a little bit of an explanation? It goes smack up to the edge, to the entrance. It's complete at 40 feet and 8 foot wide. And I thank you very much for putting the emergency lane. I really appreciate that. That's pretty cool. But the question I had was, knowing that you needed more space for storage and you're going the full 40 feet, which puts you at the absolute edge of the main building entrance, are you not planning on putting any storage within the space?
No. So basically, what we had during COVID was about a 70-foot long roadbed dining. So we're cutting that down to 40 feet. We're leaving 20 feet from the crosswalk and the rest where that building is. The owners are well aware of the new rules, and I reiterate that to them. And the shed will be built to code because we spent $30,000 on a shed and it wasn't the code, we got to take it down. So that would be a waste of money. And as to answer a few of your next questions, we close at 10 p.m. during the week, 11 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. We don't need a variance because there is 15 feet in the roadway for emergency vehicles. And from what we know of, we've been there for 30 years. We don't know of any complaints unless you got 311 calls that we don't know about.
We get them about the sidewalks being blocked and that people can't transfer back and forth. So we'll have that conversation with your sidewalk cafe when you come back. And so be very conscious of that discussion when you come back, because your setup for sidewalk is 365 allowed. And I'd rather see less seating, more access to the sidewalk than have it blocked. Because it's a very busy area.
So I'm just, my question is, I can't tell. I need a little help. How many seats are there in the roadbed? I mean, how many people will you serve?
At the maximum, there'd be 21 tables and 42 seats. But the way we were setting up before, it would probably be less. The architect is a little zealous in putting in tables and chairs, but as we always did in the past, we want everybody to seat comfortably.
Any other questions?
I don't see any gap in your tables for anything, period.
Yeah, you've gotta, they're gonna throw the food at one another? How are they gonna get there?
Well, that's where I come back to say, you know, with the DOT, they basically give you the footprint and you put whatever you want inside the footprint. So the way we had it before, we had about 48 seats, but the cafe was a lot longer. I'm sure the number of tables and chairs will be a lot less because we want people to be able to get in there, especially the service with food.
So currently you have 7 rows of tables, 6 each, so that's seating for 42 with no aisles, no service, no nothing. We're gonna actually put a comment in that we think that if there are no service, ways to gain service, and it's unreasonable to assume that you're gonna be able to squish that in as tight as you can. So our recommendation is gonna be to reduce the number of seats that you have in here to accommodate people getting to tables. I mean, I don't, and service.
And that's on Northmore, am I correct?
Yes.
You do not have anything on Hudson?
Correct.
And are you planning on applying on Hudson at any point?
For a roadbed, no, you can't.
No.
Or sidewalk.
A sidewalk on Hudson, yes.
Okay, Northmore, yes, on Hudson, no.
When you come back for sidewalk, are you gonna be doing sidewalk on both sides of the restaurant again?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we'll deal with
Betty
it.
has her hand up.
Betty, go ahead.
Thanks. You asked the questions that I had about no service lane, which makes it really non-functional. I can't figure out how people get in and out of their chairs because they're right up against someone else's chair. But for people with disabilities, I see absolutely no way anybody could be seated.
Yep.
Agreed.
Well, the way I'm seeing that the architect threw these in, because we have about 20-inch tables. So we have 7 rows. 20-inch table, that's about 140 inches of tables. And then about another 280 for seating. So we would have space in between the tables. I think the architect just put them up there next to each other, but it wouldn't make any sense to even attempt to put in tables and chairs like this. If there
Well,
was.
I would have the architect redo things. They do not present you well.
I have a question.
So, go ahead. Hold on. For Betty's notes for the, let's summarize Betty's notes, because Zach is taking notes to go into the application. And we're gonna put on there that, we would like to see a redrafting by the architect, because there is no passageway for accessibility nor service.
That's correct.
Francis?
I just have a question. So there are 2 entrances to the restaurant on that side?
No.
It's, well.
There's no one. Is there an entrance to the restaurant at all on that side?
There's 2,
No, there's no entrance or exit. That's the main building.
So you're gonna have to.
but there's one here.
It's the main, this is the lobby.
And then there's
That's the lobby of a different.
That's the lobby of the building, this
this
one
one
here.
here. It's the lobby of the building.
I think so.
Yeah, there's only one entrance on the Hudson side.
There's there.
There's an entrance on Hudson, and then we have a service door on Northmore.
Here's the restaurant entrance.
Where's the service door, sir? Yeah, where?
The restaurant.
Cause that's a long, I mean, it looks like.
Where do you
there's a
see
door.
service, Jeff?
Well.
Yeah, there's a little, I see here, there's a little service door. But then there's.
Do you mind telling us where your service door is on Northmore?
I don't know exactly where it is. Hold on one sec.
It is on the picture it shows.
So in the picture, it shows it on Hudson.
That gray or this
Yeah.
one. This one.
There are 2 sets of doors on Hudson,
Yeah,
but no doors on Northmore. So how will all service come out of Hudson Street and have to be walked around?
Mhm.
Wow.
That's how it is today.
Probably always done it.
There is a, like a platform you walk up. There's a couple of stairs on North Moore where the service door is. It's been there. We've been using that service door forever. Also during the holidays, that's where people come and pick up their pies.
You know, the problem for us is that we don't see it on the plans. So have your architect at least show us on the plans where.
Okay, we can draw that in.
We can see it from a picture, but we're having a hard time wrapping our heads around where it is on North Moore.
There's a little, if you look at the end of the cafe and go towards the building, you'll see the stairs that would go up into the restaurant.
Yeah. By the building entrance, the main building entrance.
Yeah.
I see it. Okay, so that's the service. I don't see
But
the
it doesn't
hidden
look
draw.
like a service.
It-
Then it looks like there's two entrances.
It looks like two doors. Yeah,
There's two.
that's what I'm saying. But one is probably a service.
Yeah, and that, no, and
No,
then it
those
makes-
stairs would be going up a platform, a metal platform that's there into one of our service doors.
What is that gray door then that I'm looking at?
You're looking at a photograph.
Yeah, I'm looking, I'm not a photograph, I'm looking at
The door.
doors. Go ahead, you see, that gray, there's a gray door. This
Sir-
is the platform here. It's
Sir, can you do me a
It's a little
favor?
gray door.
All right, hold on,
You see
Francis.
that?
All those doors that are in the photos are on Hudson. None of those doors are representative of what's on North Moore. So the question that we're having is, could you please have the architect redo the drawing to be explicitly clear how many seats are going to be represented with accessibility and a service aisle for the roadbed, because it doesn't show that now, and where the service entrance is on the North Moore side, because that's also not represented on the diagram. Our full board meeting is Tuesday, and we would appreciate if you could get us the diagram prior to that date.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Brendan?
Few things. So one, I'm going to vote no on this, and I know it's in vain, but I am not person that has complained, but I do hate walking through that area because it's hell. I'm glad that it's being shortened, but I might be confusing this with sidewalk rules, but I thought you had to be able to serve within the area and have ways to actually serve food within the area and not from the sidewalk, and I don't see that today. Two, based off what the gentleman said already, they're going to come back for additional seating on the sidewalk like they have today, meaning that it's just going to be an extension of the restaurant and totally cutting off the public from using that sidewalk effortlessly. And then three, he actually said that they want to add, because I don't believe that it exists today, additional seating on the Hudson side. So this is just taking up that whole corner for the restaurant. Now, with all that being said, I'm very happy for the success of Bubby's, and it brings a great crowd and it's good food, all that jazz. And I'm happy for that small business to be thriving. But as everybody in the room knows, I'm a big proponent of sidewalk for public space, and it's continuing to be eaten up. So I'm a no on this because it's just being overrun by the restaurant, and then it's going to continue to be overrun as they at least attempt to add the sidewalk space.
Okay, I appreciate that, Brendan, and I appreciate I'm kind of with you on that. But all right,
Yeah, we just need to remember to divide this as this is the roadbed, and then when they come back for the sidewalk, that's
We
when.
did not give it to him.
Then
Oh,
that's when
right,
those
he
points
may,
come.
right, so Brendan, one of the things that we take a look at from here, and we're hoping that he's listening to us intently, is that when he comes back for sidewalk has to have, a clearance and a delineation, and you have to have a service path that does not impede on the clear path. So, for example, when you look at his dining plan and the way his tables are currently situated, on sidewalk with roadbed, unless the aisle and the sidewalk are equal to what the current rules are, he will not be able to use the same tables and the same setup in the same way.
Correct.
And they have to come back with the measurements to show exactly how much space is allotted for a service path versus the clear path. Sir, do you understand what I'm saying to you for the?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Kelly, I really, really hope that you come back with super clear drawings, as clear as this is, but please tell the architect that they have to have a service path and they have to have something reasonable that shows accessibility. Okay?
Yes,
And especially because where you're saying the total sidewalk is 13 feet from the edge of the building to the curb. Betty, how much is clear path again?
8 feet.
Right, so you have to leave 8 feet. And your service aisle has to be within your 5 feet. I need you to really be seriously understanding that, so if you're showing 5-foot tables on the diagram, we're gonna ding you and tell you there's no service path.
Yes, I know.
And accessibility.
And accessibility, thank you. Alrighty, so with all of those notes, this is again just for roadbed, and we have a guarantee from Mr. Kelly that we'll get a revised diagram that shows some kind of accessibility for the sidewalk sheds so people can get in and out with real tables.
Road.
Roadbed, yeah. Questions been called?
Second.
Okay,
We
again,
vote when we don't even know what the plan is until full board.
Well, we have the plan
we
for the
know that
road
he's
bed.
maximizing his roadbed setup. It will be
Why
8
can't I
feet
understand the
by.
perimeter? I get the perimeter.
That's all we have right now, so we're approving basically the perimeter with the notation that he's gonna get us
By
Tuesday revised seating that shows. You can abstain certainly, but I think that, you know, they know that a 42 seats is not possible in there either, and so they're gonna have to give us something real.
Absolutely.
What is this, what is this green thing, mail, where they leave the mail? It's on the corner there.
The mailbox?
It's not a mailbox,
It's like a mail transfer.
a mail transfer box.
Yeah, what about it?
Is it, I don't see it on.
They're far back from the curb. See where they are? You're looking at, you're looking at the Hudson Street side. We're not talking Hudson Street. We're talking Northmore.
Okay, so do we say that we, in terms of Betty, do we say that at this moment,
Deny unless,
pardon me?
deny unless that
That we deny unless they
They show.
present us on our meeting on Tuesday, the accessibility and the area to serve that is more,
And that a possibility so people can get in and out.
yes.
Right.
All right. So with that, the question was called, the question was clarified and seconded. Do I have, we'll go by affirmation. It's a deny unless. Well, do I hear any no's, Brendan?
Thompson, no.
Thompson, no. Do I hear any abstentions? Curtis abstains and Meltzer abstains. Okay, so 1 no, 2 abstentions, motion passes, and Mr. Kelly, please don't fail us, get us the stuff by Tuesday. Thank
I
you.
never have.
There
Okay,
you go.
good.
Love
Good for
it.
you.
Save me some cherry pie. All right, let's keep moving on. The next thing we have to do is to ratify the resolution that was done for landmarks. And the only reason why we have to do this.
Yes.
Public comment period ends before full board. So the next two we're gonna take together, 5G link and the city council bill for heavy use.
Yeah.
And again, that's all it is.
Can I call the question?
Absolutely.
Second.
Give this to me, please.
It was seconded. What?
No, this is similar, it's different.
It's similar, but
they,
different.
they appealed on these 4, for, if you're talking about 5G, they appealed on those 4 where SHPO, recommended they move or redesign. Or, on one of them, they said to, remove the screen, or don't put a screen, and then, Bolden appealed that. and is presenting that appeal. So this is a response to that appeal that no,
No, we
the
kept
board
everything.
still,
Reiterate it.
we wanted to
Yeah,
stay the way we
that's
stayed
exactly
with the
right.
same recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it just needs to be ratified, which we could do by a vote by affirmation.
I'll call the question.
Do I hear any no's? Do I hear any abstentions or recusals? Flynn abstains. Perfect, thank you. All righty, so we can do committee reports. I'm gonna go first.
the environmental protection.
We did them together.
Oh, I changed to the 5G relative good.
Right.
Doing the 5 links.
Sorry.
Okay, so Mimi abstains.
I abstained to 5G.
You want to separate them then?
No,
I
she
just,
called her abstention to the one.
yeah, just that one.
The
Since they
5G.
were taken
Okay,
together.
so we're voting on both of those.
Yep, taking them together. All right, so I do want to report on Chinatown Connections Working Group that was last night. Which is really rather interesting because the conversation by the folks at Southbridge Towers today underlines my point that was made in the fact that there is a complete lack of transparency that came out of City Hall. So we've had a Chinatown Connections Working Group meeting. City Hall gave an announcement to the media before the meeting saying that Park Row would remain as is. Nothing has been presented to the public that says anything. So I'm gonna go and say, we'll share the link as soon as EDC has it posted, but, it was a mixed bag, so there is good news, and bad news. So depending on how you wanna take it. Park Row, the parking for New York NYPD that is on the west side of Park Row, east side. Wrong side. On the right side, on the Gotham Park side, there's a strip of cars that are parked. They are reevaluating the other side of the road, and DOT believes by getting rid of the unused planters and the trees that are on the side of the road that does not have a sidewalk, they will be able to reapportion that space to take all the cars that are currently parked on the sidewalk side and move them over there. NYPD has affirmed that they need Park Row for their working vehicles. They said it's fine.
Aren't those private cars that are parked there?
And there are private cars. So they are looking to condense into one side. That is a positive change.
Wait, they're gonna get rid of trees?
I don't know if they're getting, that
Them
is,
would have to drive.
on the side of Park Road that you can't walk because it's blocked off, right? There's no sidewalk. There were planters that are unused and a bunch of detritus, as they call it, and I think a couple trees that are over there. So they're gonna, DOT is working with NYPD to reevaluate that area and ensure without taking up more room that they could get all the cars over there. That's a value add. The bus stop, they're working with JC DeCal to try and do a bus stop shelter. There are lots of issues with the bus stop, and, when you have the bus stop on a sidewalk, the commercial businesses and retail take care of the sidewalk. No one is taking care of the bus stop island. So it was compromised with the latest weather and not a great experience, but they said that they have added a leaning bench. They're looking at adding more crosswalks.
What is a leaning bench?
It's like a thing that you put your butt on.
It's so
But you
if you need something to hold, you can hang on without falling
It's
over.
like a little slidey.
And they have moved a bench that's,
Right.
they have moved a bench.
Oh, I know what. Okay, thank you.
They moved one bench from the sidewalk over to the bus island. And they're looking at JC DeCal having conversations about adding a bus shelter. So all of those seem like they would be value adds to.
Why didn't MTA shovel snow?
MTA doesn't shovel snow. Or DOT
shovel snow. So these bus islands are just.
Who shovels snow? DOT.
Sanitation.
Sanitation, because they were busy with more important things.
Sanitation, like every other department in the city, has had budget cuts and
Yeah.
suffers, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yes, there was a conversation of it's not well taken care of, so, but, again, the painting has been very positive, there have been very positive things about the SIP. The elephant in the room was Park Row staying as status quo. NYPD did a presentation, about concerns for security and how it all works. It was not necessarily very different from any presentation we've seen in the last 20 years. There was no update that we have been given that showed any work that has been done to fortify and secure in a way to allow any other type of usage of Park Road, which I find disconcerting because counterterrorism has worked with every one of the large corporations in Lower Manhattan and the other sensitive sites to find ways to fortify, build, secure, qualify, and everything else. But for some odd reason, zero considerations on Park Road. So I'm just gonna put it out there and say, one of the things I brought up, I said, my concern is they are also not looking at the future uses that are currently being planned and discussed, because I don't know why. So there was no concept or conversation of micromobility, about last mile delivery transit vehicles, nothing, nothing. And I mean, I think we should go wild here and turn around and say, okay, well, NYPD has a municipal parking lot that has 400 spaces in it that they will not release back to the public because it's a security concern.
Correct, that's what they say.
Great. Then let's get 400 NYPD cars off the local streets.
Oh,
Right? I think we should,
support.
you know, if we're not gonna get Park Row reopened, then make it a huge sidewalk.
All
a
their
huge-
placards, all their.
A huge bike lane.
Yeah.
Like one lot, one road for each for buses,
Rollerblade.
and let them just get every car off the local roads.
Do we write a resolution
I think we need to take up that conversation,
and
and
try?
I'm not sure where, I'll talk to Betty about where we should have it. But we, you know, at this point, I'm like, well, just build a new garage on half of Park Row and take all the cars off the street. I don't care. I just want to improve the situation. And everybody's talking about the traffic and the travel times, and it's impacted because of the placards. If we're not solving a problem, painting isn't a solution.
So the placards are still bad with congestion pricing.
Yeah. Cause, that's my update from Chinatown Connections. We did ask for and there is no plan so far. Zach needs to send dates to Gigi for when they can come to present what we saw last night, because it's already been released to the media. So I see no reason why they can't come and talk to the public about it. They're not necessarily excited. And the mayor's office did not explain why he said in 2023 that he had consulted with everybody and it was okay to open Park Row. And then the mayor's office came yesterday, and said, the mayor has said that he's consulted with everybody and he can't reopen it. And there's absolutely no reason. And what we were told was, well, we don't know why he
Maybe
said that.
everybody means he consulted with Trump.
I-
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I
couldn't
don't
resist.
know. But I do think that at some point, we do need to maybe be bold and be brave and say something.
Yeah, why, we don't care. What the hell?
Right, which, you know, would be an awesome thing.
He's gonna take my birthday away?
The other thing that, from exec that we were talking about, we did 100 gold, that BBJ, okay. BBJ Chinatown. I am hoping that everyone saw the New York One report about the contract for the borough-based jail for the design. I'll send around the link for it.
Please.
It's, a little confusing and not really sure how. New York One got a full presentation. We will send around the information. If you're interested, you can sign up to go and view it for a 2-hour period. You can't have a phone, you can't have a camera, you're not supposed to, I think you're allowed pencil and paper. That's not what New York One got and released, because they released video and stills and all kinds of information. The bigger concern on the contract public hearing today was the idea that the mayor's office had said each location would be contextual to its neighborhood, and then it says that the Brooklyn location is being used as the base template for everything. So it's, again, a conversation of what the mayor said then, and what the mayor says now and what the reality that's come through from the RFP process is not. We were told that there would be public engagement. The NAC has not been informed. The NAC has never been updated. There was no feedback given. So
Who do we go, who do we complain to, Tammy? Which, complaining to the mayor's pissing in the wind, who do we complain to before that? Who?
Yes, we have to enjoy the breeze.
It's a great question. EDC was here. Deputy Mayor. I think that's, we kind of need to go that way. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that, and there was no acknowledgement in the Chinatown Connections Working Group meeting that when the BBJ Chinatown gets rebuilt, how will that impact this neighborhood? And quite frankly, there was discussion in reference to the fact that the federal MCC was a sensitive site and not a recognition that it's closed. It was used as a justification for keeping Park Road closed, but not a recognition that it's actually not open. And the federal government did a report, and in April of 2023, they said it needed 230 or 235 million, and it was an unsafe building. They were not planning on using it. So there were a lot of questions unanswered, and there were suppositions made about the use of that building, but that building is not being used. And again, I can only report what I heard. But I think, Betty, you heard me say we need to have maybe go bold and go big and see if Park Row is really never going to be able to be open to traffic, what should it be? Maybe Community Board 1 does a charrette and has people come and say, all right, let's think crazy. Let's, just do something nuts and see what it could and should be. And I think that we should also, and again, you can tell us if you want it in transportation, but we're not going to ever get the municipal garage back. Then they need to get 400 parking spaces for the cop cars off our streets.
I think that.
That's my current update. There's a lot more to have discussions on, but that was this week, and I think I got a couple more gray hairs from it. And Pat, you're next.
Well, one thing I want to bring up to you, and I have discussed this, is the 10th Street, you know how they closed 10th Street, and I got into a big argument with the owner of the.
It's being improved, which is great news.
Well, that depends on who you are. But anyway, we need to know, I don't see anything going on there. Have you heard anything when you went to?
Yeah. Betty, do you know?
I believe they are doing some construction on the west side of the street there.
So
no, there's only a north and south side of the street.
No, there's an east and west. So
wait, what do you mean east and west?
Like the ends?
The end.
Did they put that hideous barricade there?
They're planning on it.
Because I don't see anything going on.
Here's what I.
Well, it's the dead winter.
The only other thing that I know is that the commercial owner is moving forward, and Essebago was announced that they will be taking the space. So
on Broadway.
On Broadway, at the corner of Broadway and West Bank.
Okay, that's
thanks.
That's fine.
But what I would like to do is get to a point. We have lost the battle with the city, and the city has declared that will become a pedestrian plaza. We, as a board, need to be gracious about it if that's gonna happen, and ensure that we have our asks in, which we could not do, and it got tabled because people couldn't even agree on it. The city is already working on it. There's construction. So we need to kind of take a step off of where we've been about it. We could still say and fight for the travel lane. I have deeper concerns because of the FDNY variances with outdoor dining of how that would apply here and whether or not emergency lanes would be maintained or not. And we should really have discussions that say, what do we want in this space? Do we want art? Do we want public seating?
Well, the main thing is that we don't want him to be able to put have a restaurant that uses that street for their own, their private purposes of dining. It's supposed to be a pedestrian mall, then it should be open to the public and.
So, but think about this, let's think this through, we should have a full discussion on it, because if roadbed dining will be allowed on that street, sidewalk roadbed, something along that lines, then we should be in process of having a conversation about it.
Do that, how do you get, right, how do you get it open to traffic? On the street, that street.
That tends to be the question that we should be discussing. And that seems to be conversations we should have before we're in a position that says, by the way, we have figured out that we could put 8 foot over here, and because the sidewalk is now level to the street, it's okay. Roadbed will work on this pedestrian plaza, because Betty needs to be able to take a look and say, wow, I can get up and down this sidewalk now, that's awesome, because you couldn't before, right? But where would a conceivable restaurant be able to go within the rules of how they currently work? Don't know. If they don't make it a pedestrian plaza for any reason, and that falls through because he doesn't agree, there's still a potential for roadbed there or sidewalk, depending on if it fits. Sidewalk.
There's not gonna be any roadbed and sidewalk, if it's all level, it's one level, it's one playing field. There is no such thing, there's no delineation then between roadbed and sidewalk.
Then how does that work? And I think that's a question, because if we don't opine and we don't even, at least at a base minimum, say, our concern is that there is an 8-foot clear path for accessibility as a primary goal and a emergency lane for emergency vehicles based on the fact that we have limited street access and closed streets here, there, and everywhere, then we should get on record and say that.
Well, who do we get on record to?
DOT.
All right, let's do it.
And when do we do this? An executive, or do you do, Betty, do you do it in transportation?
I think.
Let Betty answer. I'm happy
It
to.
can
let
be
Betty-
wherever Tammy assigns it, but in reality, this is kind of a cross TB1 issue, so it really, to me, does not matter where it goes. There is also a lot of written resolutions and others that provide a very big jumping off point. Because I think there've been 3 resolutions about it already that
Let's do it.
specify different things that are wanted.
Okay.
And as far as last I heard from Ed Pinkar, they have not agreed to make a plaza partner yet. So they are still in the process of, they could be open to things they put into the agreement.
Correct.
So if they're not in agreement to make it a plaza, why are they leveling the roadbed to the sidewalk?
You have it the wrong way around. They're not making the agreement because they haven't seen enough movement for the agreement for the changes.
Movement from who? I'm not understanding that, Betty.
The owners of the building, when asking to be a plaza and closing it up, it was all contingent upon the sidewalks being leveled off and many other multiple changes. If there isn't progress towards those things being done, the DOT, that seems to be what's holding up the plaza agreement. So it's in this kind of no man's land. If you look under the plazas in New York City, you see it's sort of listed, but it's not approved.
Correct. So what we need to do, this is why we say.
Executive, let's do it.
Executive is fine. Betty and I will work together on it, because
Okay.
what we want to do is get the community's input out there.
Yeah.
So we are on record, which we are not yet. Even if it's the things we want and the things we don't, we can express dismay that we wanted it as a through street at some point.
Yeah.
And we lost.
I think you do it because the owner is a difficult gentleman. Really?
Susan, how was licensing?
Licensing is a breeze, I can't believe it, this month. We had one thing and then the people did.
She did it.
You did it. Who did it?
Me.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
me.
She did. What are we talking
I
about?
did. Fine.
Morton.
We sent a letter on Maxwell's to the SLA. That's my latest. Zach wrote it, we got it off with the resolutions and blah, blah. We did what we could do.
It'll be out by full board.
Thank you very much.
Only that I'm gonna get, work on getting Kelly McGuire to come in front of the, committee in March.
Figure out what you're doing for February. Battery Park City.
We didn't have a meeting.
That's fantastic. Pat, quality of life, and then
Nothing. We had, First
And Paul.
Precinct come. The one thing I love, we had First Precinct come, and we also had the, operators from 105 Shelter come. And the one thing I loved is that there had been many complaints about ambulances and police cars showing up at the shelter. And the police said that there weren't that many, number one. And number two, if they showed up, it wasn't a dire situation. You know, if the ambulance showed up, it's because someone at the shelter needed to have transportation to a hospital. And if the police showed up, it wasn't really a big kerfuffle. It was that the police were called and everything was smooth out. So I thought that was great. You all know that the migrant shelter is closing, the hotel is closing. We need to get more information.
99 Washington.
Yeah, 99 Washington, in the middle of February. We need to get more information about that.
Closing.
What, they're making it affordable housing?
All residents,
That's what it is, the mayor's.
all current occupants out by March 10th.
I thought it was very nice.
Return back to the owner March 17th.
And he's making it more affordable housing, right?
Oh, yeah?
Oh, closed by March 17th, sorry.
Was,
Only where I got February.
was that planned ahead of time for all that time? It's like
Mm,
a thing that's.
It was announced.
How many people are in there?
I mean, Morton should be in touch probably for youth and ed to ensure what's happening with the kids. My understanding from PSI is 276, the roughly 100 some odd kids that they have, will be bused from wherever they're put, to the school. But that's something that maybe Morton can follow up with Chris Marte and the schools and find out.
That's sad. The poor kids.
Pearl Street.
Okay.
Pearl Street.
Betty, and we want to get going. Betty and Paul, Vicky, if you got anything.
Okay, briefly for transportation, there are no resolutions, so that makes it quick. 2 brief reports that'll be done, mostly to convince people to watch the tape, because there were a lot of very interesting discussions and announcements of information about 2 very big issues, micromobility as well as blue highways.
As well as, I'm sorry, what was the last name?
Blue Highway.
What's it?
Paul?
Okay, we just discussed one item. And it was a lengthy discussion. It was about Duane Street Park. They're still trying to pull together an enlargement of the park to put in more green space and put in the original footprint of the park. Unfortunately, there's still a disagreement between New York City Department of Transportation and the group from the community that has its own ideas as to this project and whether there should be, whether they should make the changes. DOT will not approve it as it is. We did not do a resolution. We instead encourage them to keep talking and bring it back to the community board when they're hopefully are ready soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Vicky, you got anything? Nope. I think it's an easy meeting for all. Quick update for the board. We opted because of the weather and the conditions to say that we're going to postpone a holiday gathering until May the 4th.
Oh, nice.
Because we want to try and find a place that we can be.
A day before,
It's a May the 4th be with you kind of thing. It'll be a Sunday. It'll be 3 to 6. If anybody knows of an inexpensive, reasonable restaurant that you enjoy, we're gonna try and go to a restaurant with like a patio kind of a thing, so people don't have to potluck. And we can all just relax and enjoy. It's a bring your family and hang out. If somebody says, no, I really want to do a potluck, you can certainly let us know. And
Please now.
Well, they can organize. it.
What about, is there anything in Pier 17, the John George, since he's closing his restaurants, right and left? He closed Seeds and Weeds. Seeds and
Yeah,
Seeds
that's
and Weeds.
inside, we wanna be outside.
I know, but he has.
that was a good restaurant. That was
Yeah.
sad.
They're losing
All right.
money. Well, let's go.
The tin building laid off 100 people. They say that, they failed the I-9 forms. And so they laid off 100 people and they are gonna renovate, and close sections. I don't really know what's happening yet. We don't want to make any suppositions. We did invite Seaport Entertainment Group to come to land use and give us an economic development update.
Well, they're doing a jazz brunch now.
Well, and we'd also love to hear what's going on because of their plans to close the roof next year. So with that,
I was just gonna suggest.
Why do they need to close the roof if they don't have a business?
Well, they have music, that's where it is, that's.
That's Pier 17.
all right, so if you have any other ideas for places that could be reasonable, keep in mind that we've done budgets before with no alcohol, just food only and unlimited like soft drinks and beverages at about $40 a head, which is not a lot, and then you buy your own booze.
It has to have outside?
That's our outside budget.
No, I mean, it has to have an outside area.
Well, we're going to be outside. We're
Yeah,
gonna
but we
wait
could
until
talk
four.
to, I could talk.
And
to
with
some
that
people.
note, Brendan had made a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Seconded, and we are done. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Good night, thank you, bye-bye.
Guys on Stone Street, of Adrian's Pizza Place.
Yes.
It might be great.